Isn't that Lionel Richie? I can't remember.
I just put a couple things in the bubble so we have some stuff to talk about. Tonight's the their infrastructure, but yet both Bushes did it, Obama did it, but it wasn't a war crime then. Just now, it's a war crime. It's like so. It's so Uh, oh God, how do I even put it? It's just crazy to me that they are, doing everything possible to undermine him and his administration, and they just won't even give him any sort of praise. But just amazing.
Well, yeah, it's just typical. We accuse everybody of what you do. And then when they do what you do, then accuse them that it's wrong instead of it's good. I mean, I'm just in awe when people don't see it what it is. You can like or hate Trump all you want, but come on, wake up. See goats is up here, I think.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Truth. Julie, American.
Good morning, goats.
How you doing this morning, Julie?
Well, I'm off of work finally, and I'm relaxing, so I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. We were just talking about. I put in the bubble about tonight. It's the deadline, but I believe they're already starting to bomb the island where the oil refineries are. They haven't. I think Israel is on the inside, and they're doing that. The U.S. is bombing the island. Like this is not a joke. So. Let's see if we call their bluff yet. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I put something in the pill. I put a little flyer I've been working on. No pedo day. No pet. I don't care what side of the aisle. I don't care. Schools, religious, no. Politics, no pedos. No pedos. No pedo day, July 4th, 2026. Do it in your town. No pedos. I'm tired, y'all. I'm really, really tired.
You almost slipped, goats. Thanks for not dropping the F bomb. I'm really tired too. Enough is enough, right? I mean, everybody's just past the point of being polite.
Then what better day? What better day? Our 250th birthday to renew our vows to each other, to our country, to the bride, the church. No pedos. I'm done.
Well, biblically speaking, goats, when you read the Bible, the whole thing with Molech and, Baal and all of that stuff and child sacrifice and everything. I mean, this has been going on since almost the beginning of time, right? So this is nothing new. We've been fighting this the entire time. And here we are to where they were secretly doing all this stuff, and now it's out in the open, and people seem to not get it yet. But anyway, we're just getting started, folks. If you didn't know, Marlon is sick today. His lovely wife, of course, came in to help broadcast it on the other platforms. I think they're doing a YouTube now.
YouTube,
right?
yes,
Rumble.
YouTube and Rumble. So don't take my job away from me, Truth. I have one thing to do here. I'm kidding. Yes, guys, please share it out to people. Let's get people in here. It does say, Marlon's space, but sometimes people look at the icon, don't see his little fish, and they're like, "Oh my God, where's Marlon?" So he might pop in. We don't know. It might be a surprise, and so share it out to people. Share it on your page, and then go over to Rumble and to YouTube also, and then American X Live. Like it, give it a thumbs up, and let's get that going there because people are listening that do not have X accounts.
Good morning to Allie. I see she got herself a mic.
Good morning, guys. Happy Tuesday. How are you?
We're doing well. We're just filling in once more for Mr. Marlin. He's unfortunately under the weather. So here we are.
Aw,
Better
I
than
hope he feels
focus,
better.
That goes.
You talked over Allie.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's
I was
all,
just,
it's all good. I was just saying I hope he feels better.
and I was just replying to her, better than a sharp poke in the eye.
I love the fact that Miss Allie has a verse up here that she likes out of Philippians. It's a good one, isn't it? I can do all things through him who strengthens me. In fact, you didn't, or did you think I didn't know that one, Allie?
Oh yeah, yes. And some people have to look it up, but when you look it up, it just brings, just a new meaning when people aren't familiar with it. But I do love that. It is a good reminder, especially when things are tough, that we aren't alone. And I feel like a lot of people feel like, they're under distress and duress and they feel like they're alone right now, but we aren't alone. We are never alone. And so that brings some solace to people.
And it's a, I don't know, it's just a reminder that people really do have to learn to surrender and truly give your life. And once you do, and you kind of die to the old self, things renew, things look different, your perspective is different. All the stuff that we talk about in here every day is it's a lot. There's a lot going on. We're doing our best to make people aware if they're not aware, and then making plans to take action and do things about it, right? But ultimately, in the big picture, none of this stuff really matters, quite frankly. you know. But hey, while we're here, we've got a job. There's a reason we're here. If we're still here, there's a reason. That's what I believe.
You are spot on. It's interesting because, we were born for such a time as this. Oh my gosh, there's a big thunderstorm rolling over. So if I break up, you can blame Elon and Starlink. Be like, you need to solidify and fortify your Starlink against storms. Um, but we are born for such a time as this. And sometimes it's tough to look back and say, I wish I could just focus just on my family, just on providing for my family, and just know that my elected officials and lawmakers and government were going to do what they're supposed to do. And it's sad, it's frustrating, but it's also like, how often do people actually do what they're supposed to do when they're not being watched? So we are the managers, we are the arbiters of our own country and our own future. And so we have to always maintain eternal vigilance and diligence as far as when it comes to our country and what's going on. And so if people ever wish that we could go back to that or wanting us to go back to that, just know we can't ever go back to not having a watchful eye on our government. Our eyes were open to the fact that we took our eye off the road and off the wheel, took our hands off the wheel for far too long. So it was a learning moment for all of us that we can never do that again.
100%, Allie, and that it is the greatest time to be alive. And people should honor that we're alive during this time, and we're going to be able to see the things that we should have been dealing with for a long time, and hopefully that will stick. Hopefully people will understand that they have to contribute in order to keep the country that they love the way it's supposed to be. It doesn't just happen magically. I mean, I believe it was Ronald Reagan said we're one generation away from losing everything. So, it, it's got to be instilled. It's got to be taught. It's got to be brought back into schools, and we have to love the country that we're in, and we have to fight for it every single day. And I'm not talking about fighting with guns and fists and all that. Fighting for it with your voice, with your power, with getting involved. So it's going to be important to do that. And I'm just so happy to be a part of this and see what's going on, and and really see with my eyes. And I'm so glad that I woke and that I really saw what was happening and what is happening to this country. So yeah, greatest time to be alive.
It is. And anything that's sorry, Truth, didn't mean to step on you.
No, 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 please, Allie, go.
I was just going to say anything that's worthwhile, you have to continuously fight for. I mean, if you think about marriages, you think about your faith, you think about relationships, just even think about personal fitness and relationships with personal fitness. Like it's a forever thing. And so when we realize that uh having a watchful eye on our lawmakers and our government is a forever thing, it's a forever relationship that needs to be maintained and worked on, then it kind of changes your perspective on how you look at these things. And it's sad because some people want to look at different generations and issue blame and point blame at different generations. And while you can understand that certain generations were tasked with doing certain things and they may or may not have done those things, it doesn't do you any good to make to continue to have a victim mentality. You understand what happened in the past, you learn from it, and you make sure it doesn't happen again. So I try not to look back in the past and issue blame for things. I try and understand where things were at, and I try to learn from it and continue moving forward with that.
Well, I mean, Allie, you bring such good wisdom here. I appreciate it. I really do. And, the word, like if we look at the word responsibility, what does that really mean, right? It's our responsibility when somebody says that. If you break down the word response ability, the ability to respond. Well, what does response mean? The act of responding or replying or having an answer, right? A reaction that we actually do something like a specific stimulus to do, right? So, our responsibility, our ability to respond, we have to step up and respond with truth, respond with fact, right? And I think, like Goats was saying, we have our 250th anniversary for this country. July 4th, 1776 is when it all started. How did it start? It started with a declaration, right? From the founding fathers and people who moved here to get away from the king, get away from the tyranny that was going on over in Great Britain, right? And when they decided, finally made that it was their responsibility, their ability to respond to all the tyranny and all the things that have been going on, right? So let me just at least read what they did. I think it's imperative. People seem to not understand, not read the founding documents, which are so imperative and so important. And the Declaration of Independence is what started it all. Remember, we have our copy of the Declaration of Independence, but multiple copies were made, and it was sent worldwide so that the world knew, not just sent to England and the king. Like, what good would that do? They made a declaration to the world about this. So there's declarations of independences all across the world right now, if people don't realize that, depending on if they survived or not, right? But when they sent that out, what do they say? It said here, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them to one another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and provide new guards for their future security, such has been the patient sufferings of these colonies. And such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present king of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let the facts be submitted in the canon world. I won't read the rest of it. Y'all, this is obviously what they were saying to their king and why they were basically fighting against it and telling the entire world. I highly encourage y'all, if you haven't read it in a while, because I read about almost half of, well, close to half of it, a third of it. That's the Declaration of Independence. Please read it. Get your mindset on what was going on to them, all the things that they had to endure at that time, which reflects on what we're going through now, quite frankly, because these evil people that have taken quote unquote power that we've elected to govern over us, well, kind of, as of late, who knows who really elected them. But this is what we're fighting against. This is where we, the people, have this power because along with this is the Constitution. And understanding and reading the Constitution is imperative that people really do get that we do have the power. We just need to step into it. It is our, back to what we said in the beginning, responsibility, our ability to respond based on what we, the people, started. Sorry to go on like that, but go ahead, there goes.
Thank you. I just want to draw attention to one specific word in that whole thing you read there, and the word is duty. The word is duty versus the word rights when it explains it the first time. Rights is something you have an option to do or not do, right? A duty is different. A duty is something you must. You have the responsibility to do. There's a difference between duty and rights, and that's why it explained it a second time the same way, only it said duty. We have a duty. We don't have the right to come home and kick up our feet and watch Netflix if the country's going to shit. You don't have the right to do that. You have the duty to stand up for your country. You have the responsibility. It's not something you can't do.
There goes. We lost Miss Ellie. I don't know what happened. She said she was going through a storm, so maybe that's it. But I see Booker and Carmen. I tried to throw them mics.
Me too.
See them in here. And thanks for people jumping in, even though it's not officially Marlon. This is his space. He's unfortunately sick today, but here we are.
Yep, this is it. We are here. Tonight's the deadline. I will read Trump's latest truth for us. If you just give me a second here. So he wrote, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want to do that. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change, where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionary, wonderful can happen. Who knows? And that's all capitalized. We will find out tonight. One of the most important moments in a long and complex history of the world. 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran. Now, I saw videos that were showing the people of Iran really are embracing this, and to the dismay of the fact that we have the Democrats and some Republicans in this country that are totally against what's going on. And like I said in the beginning of the space, truth, how people are just twisting his words, doubting him. Now the 25th Amendment's coming out again. How could he talk this way? And you know, but for 47 years, nobody did a thing about it. They all said that they wanted to do something, and nobody did a thing. So he's finally doing it, and now it's a problem.
Well, why would they do anything if they're, getting kickbacks and sending money and getting, creating wars and making money off of stocks and blah, 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 blah. Go ahead, goats.
I was going to say one more thing. We talk about as each of these stories pop up, and we talk about distractions. And it seems every time a story pops up, it's a distraction. It's a distraction. Don't pay. Somewhere there's an end story that's not the distraction, and for me, that would be the pedophilia. Because if we can let this go, if we can let them distract us from that and sweep this under the rug, we're cooked. Anything else can happen. We're cooked, y'all. I mean, God is going to cook us.
Rightfully so. Don't mess with children ever. By the way, we appreciate again anybody that showed up today so far. Again, this is Marlon's normal space. He is out today sick. So we're trying to do what we can to, fulfill his time. Did want to ask if you hadn't already, the old like and share would be very helpful so that we can get this out so other people can know that the space is still here. It just ain't Marlon running.
Yep, and please take a mic and come up if you want to talk about anything that's going on. Ghost is bringing up a good subject, which is a subject that a lot of spaces really talk about, but there's some that really are involved with this, and we need to bring it to the forefront and always keep it in mind that this can't happen, this can't go on. No matter how much they try to change the verbiage of it, pedophilia should not be allowed. Leave the children alone, just like Truth said. They are our future. They are children. They are God's children, and we have to protect them at all costs. So thank you for bringing that to light, truth. Goats. And I did see your stuff in the bubble, and I shared it out. It's important, and I think that would be the 250th anniversary would be great time to celebrate that ending pedophilia.
Actually, just the word makes me sick to listen to it. I'm sorry. It like that is the most inhumane, insane thing that anybody can do is mess with a child. And I don't care whose child it is. You just don't mess with a child, period. And I won't even tell you some of the stuff I've encountered. You know, I watched somebody abuse a child in a store, and man, I about lost my shit on that person. But thank goodness I restrained myself to a point. But yeah, goats. That's a tough one to talk about, isn't it? It's just insane. I would never, even in a million years, think of hurting a child ever. So the people that do, that's a special kind of evil. And y'all aren't talking today, by the way. And I know Goats is probably working, but please do, like Julie said, if you feel like you got something to say, you want a topic to talk about, let's do that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, just doing something with my laptop. Somebody's coming up. Here comes Jeannie.
Hi, I'll jump in here.
Oh,
If-
the original. And then, George, did you have a response real quick before Jeannie go?
No, Jeannie's up here. Let her go ahead.
Sorry, I'm actually working, so I was hoping to just listen this morning. Um, yeah, that's the issue with hurting a child. I have the same thing. I remember as a nursing student, I did a pediatrics round, um, and I couldn't handle myself when I saw an abused child, and the father came in. So I knew you cannot work pediatrics because you there I don't know, there's a special type of person that can do that. No, I'm not one of them. So
Julie,
anyways,
Julie, I think your mic is open and we're hearing a bunch of noise in the background. All right.
Sorry.
yeah, so yeah, let's change the topic. What else is new? I don't mean to come in here.
No, it's a tough topic to talk about, but it needs to be talked about. People need to be aware of what's really going on. I know Goats probably wants to add to that. Goats.
Yeah.
Just one more thing. You know, I know a lot of people here do a lot of work on this subject and tireless work. It just you know, I'm in the middle of a Facebook thing that's just really brought it back to the surface with me. I put a post on Facebook the other day. You know, I said this is what I said. I said if I admitted that Donald Trump has been a pedophile from the beginning of time and covering it up and the biggest cover up of pedophilia since time immortal, would you people jump in the street with me and protest? And I got like 15 people. Yeah. So then I was like, so only if I admit that one person is a pedophile, would you want to go after the other 1,000? But I it's like I don't get it. I do not get people. They only want one person. If I drank all the Kool-Aid, I will admit maybe I'm delusional. Maybe I've drank all the Kool-Aid. Maybe Trump is the biggest pedophile that's ever lived on the planet. I still want to go after the 1,000 other, or the how many ever others. I don't.
That's the thing, right, Codes? I mean, it's like he's the only one. Come on, that just goes to show you how many people are still so brainwashed, especially what they're hearing from certain politicians or what they're hearing on the mainstream media. They are so brainwashed that he's just the only one that could possibly be doing this. It just blows the mind. It blows my mind, and you know. It's the biggest crime that they're going to try to hide, no matter what however they're going to try to paint things. They're trying however they try to normalize it. It's gotta change.
Well, okay. So all the
Yeah,
deviancy, let's aside from what we're talking about. What about the crap of the video and pictures of the guys, you know, having sex in the Senate floor, in the chamber? What about that? When that happened? Not a word, not a peep. Nobody seems to care about that. How sickening that is and disgusting that they would do that, you know, in a place of quote unquote honor. But we have another Julie Godfrey, that has her hand up. Go ahead, sir. Or ma'am. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Thank you for letting me speak. You know, one of the things I haven't seen that video that you just mentioned. I stay away from a lot of the negativity right now because became too overwhelming for me. But as we're talking about children, um, the thing that bothers me the most is that they're, like I ain't said, um, they're not, don't seem to be going after anyone else. And one of the things that also I think is really important is when they're screening for foster care parents so that they can take these children out of their home, there's just not enough people who are stepping up, willing to take on these children who need help. And, they need counseling, they need support, they need good people who are going to take them in. And the screening of those people needs to be much better than it is right now. There's so many foster parents out there who are in it only to grab money, only so they can get an extra, $1,000 a month or whatever it is in the state they're in. And I really wish that we had a better screening opportunity for that. I've fostered a few children, not through the foster program, just kids that were there whose parents left them outside at night in the neighborhood with no food. They were out doing whatever they were doing. And so it's like, okay, come stay with me. And yep, when your moms and dads are, available, tell them where they're at. But you know, more
Well,
of us
Julie,
become neighborhood moms.
a lot of these so-called agencies that were supposed to be looking out for the children are part of the biggest of the problem. A lot of these governmental agencies, just like a lot of other governmental agencies, need to be dismantled and thrown away and we need to start over. That's what another big problem is, that a lot of these agencies that we relied on for years to take care of these children really weren't doing that. They weren't screening properly. They were giving these children to the wrong people. So you were right. We're going to need this in the future, and everything needs to be rebuilt, just like a lot of other governmental agencies that need to go away.
Yeah. Yeah. Our government, federal government, got way too big, and I am in full support of what the current administration is doing, is tearing it all down. I say burn it all to the ground, bring it back to the way it used to be. It was privately funded. It was through our churches, our orphanages, and our things like that were through, you know, publicly based, community based, where it was found that there was need. And we really in this country need to get back to community and keeping kids where they can feel safe in a positive environment. I don't know. I think that's another movement when it comes to children. Everyone's focused on prosecuting the people who do it, but they're not looking at how do we help these children. And that's really where we need to, I think, change focus.
Getting problem identification is a good start because that corruption of brainwashing that's been going on for decades. I mean, I don't know if they really realize how long this has been going on, what we're really fighting. Our enemy truly is Marxism, communism, whatever you want to call it, combined with all this other crap. And then our kids, of course, that's the target. It's always been the target. Is to corrupt their minds, to desensitize them through film, television, gaming, all that kind of stuff. So it's such a complex thing, but absolutely the focus being, of course, on capturing these evil people, but then hopefully it doesn't get left in the mix on how do we heal these children? How does somebody come back from that? We talk about PTSD amongst veterans. PTSD isn't just for military. That's for anybody who's seen something or experienced something that is not of the norm. Anybody who watched 9/11, you whether you know it or not, you have PTSD. When you watch that stuff, that's something in your mind that your mind loops and continues to try to make sense out of, and playing it over and over and over. And that loop sometimes drives people insane. Other times, if you learn to create a loop that, you know, um, has some resolve, that's a way to start to heal. But we hope that there's people in place or organizations, but the organizations, all the stuff that we've watched go on and occur with all these NGOs or nonprofits, and how they've funneled money and have learned to manipulate the system to get all these grants, all this money, and it never goes to whatever cause they're saying. Like there's a ton of veteran organizations that I tried to reach out to when I was homeless. I was a homeless vet. I had nothing. And, reaching out to all these organizations. And I'm telling you, the only one that actually helped me, the only one is one of the old ones. It's not a veteran, quote unquote, organization called the Salvation Army. I walked in there and they actually gave me some cash, some food, and they gave me a hotel to stay for a couple days. I mean, that, you know, of all the places I looked to, all the veteran organizations I was trying to find, it was all talk. Either the numbers didn't work, nobody answered, you know, all that kind of stuff. So just waking up, finding the, you know, the truth. That's, I think, what we're all seeking, the truth in all kinds of different uh, battlefronts that we're up against. But I see Booker's and Carmen are both in here, which usually they have lots to say, and they haven't taken a mic. So I invite you all up here to come and discuss whatever you'd like to discuss today. But protecting our children should be priority number one, Goats. I know how passionate you are about it.
Well, I think in communities, if you look around, there are many, many children um, who need assistance, need guidance, need help. There are so many homeless teens who the only way that they found that they could be safe was to run away, live in the woods, live in street corners, sleep at friends' houses to get away from parents who are abusive. And I think as a people, we need to start paying more attention to what's around us and stop watching the news.
Well, quite frankly, there's no excuse for this country as wealthy and rich and vast as we are. There is no excuse for any kind of homelessness. You know, surprisingly though, the statistics, percentage wise, the majority are veterans, believe it or not. You know,
I've been homeless for a year now. Um, and our state things, the, the help, the assistance that they provide, if you make more than a certain amount of money, which last year when I first became homeless, I had made too much money in the first 2 months of the year to qualify for food stamps, to qualify for anything. And when I would go to women's shelters, I don't fit the demographic because you have to come from a drug situation, you have to have come out of jail, you have to come from be found in it, like be rescued from an abuse situation. They don't help normal people who are working Americans. None of our systems are set up to help working Americans. So you're right, it's not just veterans. There are tons of homeless people out there. And when you go to ask for assistance, if you're not a minority, if you're not illegal and claiming sanctuary status, you are on the bottom of the list.
Yep, and it's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse, especially with all the way the prices of things are going with housing, with taxing, and and all these governors are blaming Trump, who's been in office now for 2 years. Okay, these politicians that have been in office for 50 something years, nobody's to blame on to them. They're not to be blamed. Only Trump is to be blamed for what's going on in this world right now, and especially in the states that have been run by bad government in these states, and nobody's holding their feet to the fire. Nobody's holding them accountable. It's their whole they're deflecting their blame on one person, and everybody's following. It's like it astounds me. It's just I live in a very blue state, and I'm very well aware of who's been running our state for the last 30 somewhat years. Okay. And I know the problems of the state, and I know what's going on, and I know you have to vote. You have to vote. You have to get involved. You have to do all that stuff, and I've been doing that, but a lot of people aren't, and they're just so easily saying. I mean, I've had people come to me at work and be like, "Oh yeah, it's Trump's fault." I'm like, "It's not Trump's fault that our state is so taxed, from every little thing. I mean, it's pretty much they haven't taxed the air we breathe, but that's yet to come. You need to look inside the government of your state, not the federal government. There's things that yes can trickle down to the states, but most of the time it's the states that are causing their own problems.
Yeah, this is a whole can of worms to open up. But boy, oh boy, oh boy, so many different topics to kind of cover here. But, you know, but what kind of makes me sick is if you watch some of the videos that have been put up of some of these people that have been in office for 40, 50 years plus, to where years ago they were saying what Trump is saying and fighting against these things, but now they're saying the complete opposite. You know, that problem that we have of people spending that much time in office, that it was never really designed that way, and it's a shame. But then you know add in the corruption of politics, the corruption of elections. Even if we have our we can clean up all the stuff that has been going on with these machines and all that kind of stuff. The fact that these people are basically bought and paid for before they're even elected from these these groups that raise money and give them money. If somebody raises $50 million for you, do you think that there's something that is expected of you? You know, the fact that it even costs this much money, these campaigns, you know how many millions and millions and really billions of dollars are given to these campaigns for elections? Like what? You know, the fact like Florida, the state of Florida, if you want to run for the federal government, it's a $10,000 fee just to put your name in the hat. How is that even possible? Uh, why does it cost money to run for a public office? Think of all the billions of dollars that are spent each cycle for elections. On what? On what? Where does that money really go? Right? What the heck is going on here? There should not be any type of money involved when running for a public servant office. You know, the term limits, we talk about that all the time, but unfortunately, that has to be voted on by the very people who are sitting there that have no term limits. So, I mean, I'd be really interested, you know, I'm trying to egg Booker on. That's my damn dog in the background. I'm trying to egg Booker on to come up here. Go ahead, Goats.
You know, the thing with term limits that I kind of think is, you know, we should already have term limits, right? And that's our vote. And if we don't believe in our vote is an option of term limits, then we don't believe our vote counts. Then we've got a whole other slew of problems.
Yeah, you know, just this whole system, it was designed very well, but we have strayed so far from it and bent and twisted the rules. See, I've talked about before, and I'd be very curious to see what people have to say about it. But FDR, you know, historically, when we're taught in school how great that president was, I'm sorry, but if this is a shocker to you, he was a communist, straight up, and did so much to destroy this country. It's unbelievable the how we've not been able to come back from it. Now, mind you, he's the president that ran or that held office 4 times before they changed that. So, and think about why they changed that. He did so much damage to this country, and he could because he was in office for as long as he was. And then they changed it to where nope, 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 no president can do that now. Well, you can only have 2 terms, so that couldn't be undone, if that makes sense. And now that Booker's up here, I'm sure he's got something to say. Go ahead, Booker. I appreciate you coming up.
Hey, can you hear me okay? I'm driving, so that's why I didn't grab a microphone real quick.
Yeah, we hear you fine.
Okay. I was a term limit person for a long time, and I kind of changed my thinking on that a couple of years ago. And I think election reform is needed more than anything else. You were talking about Florida paying $10,000 to get on a ballot. And actually,
Did he go silent?
I can't hear him anymore. Booker, are you still there? Although, you know what, Truth, he's showing as a listener to me. I can't even see him with a microphone.
Yes.
I saw him. He was saying connecting. I think his internet got dropped.
Yes, he's good. Forgive me, folks. I know he'll be back up if he can, and I love when he's up here.
Yeah, he knows his stuff about this too, and the elections, and I believe he lives in Florida too. So, you know, it's something that needs to be talked about every day until people start realizing that they need to, you know, get involved with their voices, getting involved, going to their school boards, getting involved in all these aspects. Really, nothing's going to change by you just sitting on that couch and waiting for somebody else to do it for you.
It's the truth. The dog is just complaining in the background. If you hear him whining, that's what it is.
Julie, would you be able to just close your mic? I can't close it.
Looks closed on my end, by the way.
I see. I must be the space. Then the space gods are trying to mess with us today. Truth.
Oh, that's an everyday occurrence. You know, it is what it is. Anyway, well, I see Jenny's down there too. Come on up. Anybody who wants to come up and try to fill this space here with poor Marlon being sick today. I'm glad that we're here at least trying. Go ahead, Goats.
Well, another thing I want to say about term limits, it seems to me that term limits is kind of a band-aid for underlying problems that it would, because so like I said with voter, if we believe in our vote, then then voting should be the term limits. But if we don't, then we've got a whole other bit of problems. Then also, if we believe that people who are uninformed just keep voting for bad politicians, that's also an underlying problem that term limits is only going to mask. So I think the things we're looking to fix by having term limits are underlying problems. You understand? You understand what I'm trying to say? I think
for sure.
It would just be a mask for problems that we have. Yeah.
Well, I've always thought that, just like jury duty, that should kind of be your service to your country is your time comes up and, well, okay, I got to go serve in the Senate. You know what I mean? Just make it like that.
$100%. And like this whole thing, I think Mike Lee is also calling out Thune and Lindsey Graham about, Lindsey Graham saying about the Save America Act, how it would only need to be the 50 senators and the 51st tiebreaker. It's not going to happen. I think you need to pass that. You need more like 60, right?
Now, technically, it can be 51, but that's where they have to come in for the vote, do the 51 votes, and then the filibuster, quote unquote, where they have to sit there tirelessly talking and explaining why they're going against it. And then once they give up, then it goes. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
I'm sure it's crap. This is why it's imperative for people to read the Constitution, to do their best to understand. It's really not a long document. You can read it in about 30 minutes, give or take, That's why it's not very complex. I mean, it is, but it's the supreme law of the land, and how we can't just simply follow that to the T is what frustrates me. Then you have all this quote unquote legislation, which most of it is completely unconstitutional. So therefore, it's not real. It's a law, quote unquote, that you don't have to follow because it's against the Constitution. Am I making sense?
Yes, you are. 100%.
All right, Booker came back. Nice.
Well, I had no idea that I'd left. I don't know what happened. How far had I gotten? Because I talked for about 5 minutes before I ever looked at my phone again. And
oh no.
gone.
Um,
Yeah.
you were just starting in the $10,000 fee for Florida.
Okay. Oh man, I covered a lot of ground there. I don't even know if I'll remember what all I covered, but um, yeah, the $10,000 fee is factual, but that is factual because it really takes signatures, and most people just forego the signatures because most of the signatures, 30% of the signatures, are going to be thrown out anyway. So you have to have a certain number of signatures to get on, and so instead, people pay 10 grand. Um, Term limits. Did I talk about term limits before? I can't remember what order I
No,
talked in,
you,
but
you did
term
not.
limit. Okay, term limits. I used to be a big term limit person, and I gave up on that about 3 years ago. Conventions of states is not ever going to happen in my lifetime. And I've come to the conclusion the only way to fix all of this is with election reform and massive election reform. And by that, I mean, I have no problem with the government giving someone that is a qualified candidate the money to run their campaign. Take the super PAC money out, the PAC money, the dark money, and even have a separate election day so that you then can also control the messaging and who is buying advertising. You guys may not know this, but there is a window before every election that there are certain rates that politicians get. If you're a campaign candidate, then you get the absolute lowest rate available from television and radio stations and digital. If you're an issue, then you pay the highest. If you take the issues off that same ballot and have only government officials and that on a separate election day, then you can keep that money out of it, the issue money, because a lot of the PACs and super PACs, they are actually issue. They are not. That's why at the end of the commercial it says paid for by this candidate. So get that money out of it, give the money directly to a qualified candidate, and everybody has the same amount of money. Then when someone wins a congressional seat and they go to Washington D.C. and the first day they put them in a cubicle and say you got to raise $2 million, none of that's going on, and they can actually get to work on solutions for the American people. And we have a better opportunity to get people that actually represent us there in Washington D.C. instead of becoming a part of the establishment and the apparatus that exists to keep us out of it. So I think election reform is there. And then I kind of rambled for a little bit because I'm writing an article right now because here's something that really bothers me. If you look back at elections since November in New Jersey and Virginia, but all across the country, there have been special elections, and Republicans are consistently losing in places that they have not lost. It's happened here in Florida. It happened two statewide races in Georgia. It happened in Syracuse, New York. It's happening in Louisiana, Oklahoma. And even in races the Republicans are winning, they're still losing 20 or 30 points. The reason why is because Republicans are not going to vote. And if you look back at the two things that were most important in the 2024 presidential election, there were two things that were at the top. It was the border and it was the economy. That was it. And that's what it comes down to. Sorry. Donald Trump successfully closed down the border. We went from 2.2 million people a year to less than 9,000 a month, with zero being allowed in the country for 7 months in a row. That's a huge win. We're not talking about it. Inflation was down to 2.7%. Wage growth was up over 4.5%. The GDP was 4.3%, all prior to a government shutdown that the Democrats did last fall, all done by design. They're trying to derail Donald Trump. They're taking the narrative. Right now, it happens to be the Iran war, boots on the ground, NATO, all of these things that come up every day in a 24-hour news cycle that completely get us distracted. We no longer need someone to run a psyop on us because we run our own daily. We're running our own psyops. And if we don't stay focused on the things that we can control, then everything that we don't want and didn't want and the things that we fought for years, we're going to get in 2028. That's exactly what's going to happen. The November midterm is going to be ugly unless we focus on the things that are important, not on all these little things that we get caught up in every day. And it takes off on social media. It's just not important. Inflation was down to 2.7% last year. compared to 20% cumulatively for Joe Biden over 4 years. That was not going to come down. The only way prices were actually going to come down is with deflation. None of us want that because that's a recession or a depression. We want wage growth. We want larger GDP.
Bunker, do you think that the reason that we're not getting a lot of Republicans to vote in the primaries and stuff, is it messaging from the GOP of their states, or is it just because people don't realize that they, don't get the right people in within their states, that the federal government's going to fix it? What is the reasoning? I mean, because we hear this all the time, and
Well, there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons, and I think you probably see it every day. It's visible here on social media. The MAGA people are not voting. I can put the Michigan Senate race in 2024 squarely on MAGA, because MAGA, they thought that Mike Rogers was a quote deep stater unquote, and he was running for Senate against a real deep stater in Elise Slotkin. If you look at the raw voter numbers in Michigan, Donald Trump had 140,000 more votes than Mike Rogers, because for months MAGA was saying Mike Rogers is deep state. Why did Trump endorse him? Because you literally have a CIA operative in Elise Slotkin, who's a socialist, who is running against him. So it's things like that. It's the Epstein files. It's no one being perp walked. All of those things are creating lower voter turnout because people are disappointed, because their expectations were too high. The expectations should have been on inflation and wage growth, things that really make a difference at the people's kitchen table, because that ultimately is what people vote for. And now we're getting into Iran and all this stuff. And by the way, when it comes to boots on the ground, let me just share this. And some of you guys are old enough to remember back in 1991 when we mobilized 500,000 American National Guard and reservists. That's what a real ground invasion looks like. If you remember that, we moved tanks to Saudi Arabia, 500,000 people. People in our communities were being called up to the National Guard and reservists. It was a big deal. And 500,000 people were amassed in Saudi Arabia to invade Kuwait and push Saddam Hussein back. Right now, we have 5,000 Marines and 3,000 from the 82nd Airborne. When you look at this in a common sense way, then all of these distractions that we cause for ourselves every day, they shouldn't even be distractions. And what Donald Trump says about what's going to happen tonight or tomorrow or whatever, I wouldn't even worry about that. I have very strong feelings about what we're doing in Iran, but again, it's a distraction. All of these things are distractions. And what is going to happen is we are going to manifest the very thing that we don't want: misinformation boards, full term abortion, mandated vaccines, because we are staying in the weeds every day instead of really paying attention to what is important.
Well, Booker, to add on to that, I think all of the social media, all the crap that's gone on when they do talk about voting and they do talk about the corruption and the machines and the mail-in ballots and all that stuff, that again feeds into the people not believing in the system even working anymore. So what's the point of voting, right? That's where we are.
I agree. I agree with that. And this is something I've been working on for 5 or 6 years, and I've really seen that it gets frustrating because it doesn't really seem to work or pick up traction, especially on social media. Now, I'm speaking 2 weeks at the Trump Republican Club of Tampa Bay, and the people that actually come to things like that are people that actually will go do. So I will be speaking about specific strategies that can be used to get people to go vote, because that's what needs to be done. It doesn't matter what you say in a space or what you say on a post. It just really doesn't matter, unfortunately, because I've been in these spaces since 2021, since they started, and it's the same conversation every day. And and I've said this for years, a movement requires moving. You have to do. It's a verb. And there's not enough of that going on. And maybe it's because people are frustrated, because there aren't perp walks, because Epstein files, whatever it is. And you mentioned this earlier, Truth, that this is really about whether this country goes all the way into socialism, into a new world order, into a one world government, or it doesn't. And we seem to have lost that and forgotten that over a bunch of stupid stuff. You know, that's the way I see it. And I did an article, and I think I've talked about it in this space before about midterm elections. And I did research going back 100, almost 120 years. And you lose 25 seats, whoever has the presidency, Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. That's how many you normally lose. I compare Donald Trump right now to Ronald Reagan coming out of Jimmy Carter years. High inflation, high gas prices, Iran with the hostages, same type of thing. And Reagan lost 35 seats in 1982. That's what we're looking at. And don't think for a minute that there aren't some Republican senators that would vote to remove Donald Trump a year and a half, 2 years from now. I don't know why people don't see the importance of going to go vote. And you may think the SAVE Act and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't matter. If in 2024 Donald Trump won, why did he win? Was it rigged? It wasn't rigged. People went and voted, and that's what has to happen in November.
You know what, Booker, you're spot on, and I do want to say one thing. Like, I mean, I haven't been. I've had an account for a long time, and then I lost my first account, and I really wasn't on this part of social media with X. More so since when Elon took it over, and you were able to see people's real opinions of things or the truths of things. But I've heard that pretty much my whole life. I mean, I'm not a young spring chicken, but I'm not that old either. And I've always heard that, the federal elections, there's no problem with people coming out and voting for their president. But when it comes to the midterms and to primaries, that people just don't do it. And that's what we have to change. We have to change that mentality. So because I've heard that for years. I've always heard, especially on the Republican side, they just don't come out. Oh, it's an excuse. Well, they are working and they're doing this. And well, when you vote on election day for the president of the United States, you still have to go to work too, right? So, like, what's the difference? I mean, even my brother, who is got the biggest TDS I know of all people, and he lives in Washington State, which is so horrible now, and it's such a beautiful state. Even when he voted, and he told me this, he's like, listen, I voted for Kamala because he did, and he admitted that. But he says when it came down to the locals, I voted all red because I know who's screwing up my state, and it's not the Republicans. So people know this, but people are just, I don't know what the problem is, that people don't come out and vote in these elections. And this has been for years. I've heard this, not just since the Epstein files, not just since these things. I've heard this for years. So is it always just because somebody knows better to put the stories in line when it comes for these elections, that people just don't want to vote because they figure it's not going to make a difference?
Yeah, but I'm sure Booker would probably agree because he just brought it up. He just said that this has been going on in every cycle for generations. And the stuff that we're talking about now, all these talking points, all this crap that the politicians spew out every day, it's the same rhetoric. It's been the same rhetoric for generations. Go ahead, Booker.
Yeah, well, I was talking to someone the other day. Do you remember the government shutdown last fall? Do you remember what it became about? It became about healthcare and health insurance. Remember, it was all about that. Has anyone heard anything about healthcare or health insurance since? That's how much solutions for American people mean to the politicians. Everything is just for political rhetoric. You got to get that out. You got to see that for what it is. And if not, then we're going to get lost. Here's the way I look at it for the Republicans. And there are two big drivers of the base that energize them to get them to go vote. That is the southern border. Illegal immigration has been a big thing for years, and abortion. Fortunately, both of those things are now solved. There's no one coming in the southern border. Abortion, 10th Amendment decision on the Dobbs decision, Roe v. Wade, it went back to the states. So those main items are gone. Meanwhile, we are fighting with each other, and I think that has a lot to do with it, because even if you compare, Julie, to the last midterm and the one before it, the raw vote number, which is what I look at a lot, is lower, much lower than it was 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago. So even though it typically historically happens for 150 years, the way I described, it's even worse now. And if people don't understand that and don't have the fear of the things that we fought so hard for from 2021 to 2025, I mentioned some of them: full term abortion, vaccines mandated. All of that is coming to reality. You should be scared to death of that, if not for socialism coming in and communism and being folded into a one world government and a new world order. Our ally just to the north that we share a border with just said that in January. Mark Carney said we're aligning with China in the new world order. Those are his words, not mine. And they're right to our north. You
Yeah,
have
that,
to you have to see all of this stuff for what it is, and we stay so busy into, unfortunately, things like the Epstein files. I said this a year ago. It doesn't matter. Just because a name is in the Epstein files, it doesn't matter. No one's gonna be happy with the results of the Epstein files, and we still continue to argue about it every day. Pam Bondi screwed that up. She should have never said what she said on John Roberts on Fox. And if she hadn't, then the Democrats couldn't care less about the Epstein files until they thought that the Department of Justice was trying to withhold something, and now they want it, and it's going to accomplish absolutely nothing. And I'm sorry, I know a lot of people. Well, what about the victims? I'm sympathetic to the victims, but not every person that was involved with Epstein was a 12 or 13-year-old girl. It's well documented. He did that for sure. The other people, I don't know, just because your name is in there, like Donald Trump. I see the left all the time. 33,000 times his name is mentioned in the Epstein files. What does that mean? That means someone made an allegation and some agency had to investigate it, because that's what they do. You can go make an allegation right now to any police department you want to, and they by law have to investigate it. And then if it was about Epstein, then that would be in those files. So it's going to accomplish absolutely nothing, and we spend all of our energy on it. That's just an example, but I could go on many others.
well, hey, really quick, if y'all aren't following Booker, please do so. And Booker, if you have anything coming up, don't hesitate. Please put it down there in the post or in the bubble or whatnot. I want to go back to focus though on the reality that we're up against, the communism. Okay, Marxism, the New World Order. Okay, all of this stuff is real, and if you don't get that by now, you really got to wake up. But I've read this before, and I want to read this again. This is just one couple sentences directly out of the Communist Manifesto. If you've never read it, read it. It's hard to get through. It's disgusting, but read it, because you have to understand what we're up against. And here's the couple sentences. It says, there are, besides eternal truths, such as freedom, justice, etc., that are common to all states of society. But communism abolishes eternal truths. It abolishes all religion and all morality, instead of constituting them on a new basis. It therefore acts in contradiction to all past historical experience. That should make everybody sick to your stomach, for one, but is that not what we're facing right now with the whole upside downness of this world, all this crap that they're trying to make normal? That to me is what we're fighting against ultimately. I'd be curious, Booker, I know we got a hand, but I'd be curious on your thoughts on that, and I'm sure you probably have read the manifesto.
The thing about communism is it requires government to become your God, and it gets rid of your God. And if I could just take what the Mark Carney said in January about the New World Order and aligning with China, and it bothered me so much that I really didn't sleep that night when I saw that video, because of what I think, it means. And if I happen to look at the world in a biblical worldview, not a secular worldview. And you look at the prophet Zechariah, chapter 14, and it talks about all nations will turn against Israel. Now, and I don't want to get deep into what Israel actually means, because I have no problem with going against the government of the nation of Israel, Netanyahu, or anything else. There's nothing wrong with that. That is not Israel. That is not who Israel is. But if you look at that, then I actually called one of my pastors, who's a doctor of theology. I said, look, I'm bothered by this, and here's what I see happening in this country and where we're going. And he said, well, every biblical scholar for 2,000 years has agreed that all nations will turn against Israel. All would include America. Whether you like hearing that or not, America as a nation will turn against Israel. A lot of people that you see on social media right now, they make Netanyahu and Israel the bad person and the bad people. There's nothing wrong with questioning that. Netanyahu's not going to be around long. But that Zechariah chapter 14 is also reflected in Revelation. We are living in biblical times. We're somewhere between Genesis and Revelation. It's not a historical document. It is the living word of God. I happen to believe that, and I know a lot of you do too. And I think you have to go to that to fully understand what's going on. Are these the end times? They're always the end times. They always have. Even the apostles asked Jesus, how do we know the end times are coming? And that's when he responded, there'll be earthquakes and wars. But even then, that's only the birthing pains. In a world of 1 billion years, those birthing pains may last thousands of years. And I try to live my life like I am living in end times from the moment I took my first breath, because all of us are. We only get 75 or 80. So make a difference in the time that you have. And I have more about that, but I know Zach's hand's up. So I'll be quiet and let him go.
No, these are imperative and important things to talk about, especially talking biblically. If people don't believe that this nation was founded upon principles from the Bible, then they surely haven't read the Bible, nor have they read the Declaration of Independence or Constitution. And putting God first. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I could just real quick about that, because so many people in this country don't even understand what inspired the Declaration of Independence. Written by Thomas Jefferson, chosen actually John Adams. It was between those two, and John Adams thought it would be better that it was Thomas Jefferson because he was a Virginian, and it needed to come from a Virginian instead of a New Englander. And John Adams, who was pretty egotistical, he decided that on his own, which is, it says something. But if you really want to understand the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, then you need to understand the philosophies of John Locke and Montesquieu. And I would encourage you to read about that, because the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that comes from John Locke, who was dead 60 years before the Declaration of Independence was written. He was an Englishman. Montesquieu was French. He was a philosopher, religious, spiritual philosopher, but he was the one that separated the branches of government. And if you don't truly understand that history, then you really don't understand American history, because it's such a big part of it. Go ahead.
No, I totally agree there, Booker. And when you read through the Federalist and Anti-Federalist papers, and you read through John Locke, yeah, you start to get the big picture. Like, this was not just an overnight, well, let's just come up with this. There was so much thought and wisdom and tribulation that they went through to come up with these things. And they really did so much research to find what is the best solution. What can we do that's different, that the world hasn't seen before, right? And then I always refer to Deuteronomy in chapter 28. The first 14 verses talk about a country or a nation that if they put God first, how God will bless them. And that's a very significant passage, and I'll go into that. But yeah, go ahead there, Zach.
Good morning, guys. How everybody doing today? As a communist will destroy this country. We need to take the country to the next high. Get it better. Get it great. And more better than ever. And Booker is right about everything. Love you guys.
Thank you, Zach. And really quick, before we go back to you, Booker, I wanted to say hello to Nika. She came step up and took the co-host. I appreciate that, Nika. How you doing this morning?
I'm great. Thank you for having me up, Truth. I didn't realize Marlon wasn't here. I was trying to find the space and it took me a little bit, but um I like the conversation. I know this is probably not what a lot of people want to hear, but I am with Booker when it comes to the Epstein files. I don't think anything's going to I honestly don't think anything's going to come of it, guys. I don't foresee them arresting themselves, which we know all the people who are involved are people that are out of our reach, unfortunately. And it's not going, sitting there focusing on that is not going to do us as conservatives any good. Unfortunately, we can't seem to come together because they have a way of separating us and we fall for it every time. So here we are. I mean, MAGA split in two in the last couple of weeks because Trump is trying to stop something that's been going on for 47 years instead of feeding into it like all the last few presidents have done. I just, we need to come together. If we don't come together, we will become a communist country. That's it. It comes down to just that. We need to vote the way they do as a voting bloc. We need to come together and we need to put the right people into office. And you got to be really careful anymore because, honestly, I mean, just in the state of North Carolina, we have over 120 Democrats that are now running as Republicans. So you have to pay attention to who you're voting for. They're using every dirty trick that they can find to.
And Nika, they're doing their damnedest to keep us separated with these kind of distractions, with the Epstein files.
100%.
So they're doing their damnedest to make this continue to happen. And it's our job to keep putting that fire out.
Well, I want to throw this out there because I don't know if a lot of people are aware of it, but there is a public law, 637 or 637, which called Communist Control Act of 1954, which President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed into. It's actually still a law. And if you read through that, if you were openly communist or had anything to do with communism, whether under the guise of socialism, whatever it was, that you could not hold office. You got to read through that, and the fact that that's not even being referred to when it is an active law blows my mind because we have people openly calling themselves Democrat socialists. You're a freaking communist, period. So I'd be curious if Booker, if you've looked into that, or Nika, or anybody, and if you had any comment on that.
No, I would just say that if you want to see about communism in America, it has been a party here for nearly 100 years. And I'm not making this up. You can do your own research and you will see that it has been. And you mentioned, when was that, 1954, that law? But go back prior to World War II, there were communist cells in America. And it was very much alive, and it still is. But what can we do about it? And the only thing we can do about it is get involved. And I kind of laid off of it for a couple of years. We say vote for the right person. Well, it's too late now to really vote for the right person because all those people are already running campaigns at this point. You are going to be left with the people that the establishment and the apparatus selected for you to vote for, because we were not there. And I'll use these numbers. They're a couple of years old. They may not be completely accurate right now, but precinct committee people, there were 400,000 of them in the Republican Party. 3 years ago, there were 200,000 empty. 200,000. If 200,000 America First or MAGA people had gone and taken those seats, which it's not much work, but you have to go do it, the complexion of the Republican Party would have completely changed by now. This has been going on for 4 or 5 years. We've talked about this, but it hasn't happened. And a result of that is you're going to get the same people to vote for. You can talk about election reform. You can talk about term limits. Julie was talking about this early. If you don't do it where you live, we're a republic designed that way, then nothing is going to change. And then that's what people need to understand. You take responsibility, accountability for yourself, your own actions, and what you're doing to make a difference.
Well, I mean, so that act that I was talking about, the Communism Control Act of 1954, remember that came from the McCarthyism era. Senator McCarthy was trying to fight this. They had open debates and trials and the whole nine. I encourage anybody to go back and watch. There is still footage that you can watch, or at least that you can hear, of what was going on in our country. And like Booker just said, yeah, this has been in our country over 100 years. And we really have been fighting and combating that enemy for a long time. And I truly believe if Kamalama Ding Dong would have been elected president, illegally, because we know there's no way that idiot could have won anything, we would be a completely overturned. We would lose our republic. And we're that close that the next presidency, whoever that may be, is going to determine the future of this country. And that's how close we are to losing our country. And this is the last and only beacon of hope worldwide. That's why there's so much riding on this. And I don't know how we can convey the importance of that. And it really just takes us going into our communities and talking to people about how important these midterms are, how important it is for us to stay active and to vote, and that our vote does count. Because like Booker mentioned, the turnout, if our turnout, no matter how any of these stupid laws that are trying to come in, the SAVE Act, all that stuff, if we don't get out there to vote, then it doesn't matter, right?
Absolutely. And you know something true too. I mean, and like I said, passing the SAVE Act would be a great thing. Save America Act. If it would get passed, it would be great. But they're just going to find some way else. Then they're going to keep doing it. Because if we just say, oh, well, that got passed, so now we don't have to worry about people that are not of this country that can't vote. Well, then they're going to find another way, right? They're going to find another way, because again, here we go, people getting right back on their couches again, getting complicit and saying, well, that got solved, so now we don't have to worry anymore. It's got to be constant. We have to constantly be engaged somehow. And I'm not saying you need to run for office. I mean, if that's not your shtick, just keeping your voice open, just saying what's on your mind and talking to people, in sometimes talking to people that might not have the same outlook as you do. And that's what we need to be brought back. We need that conversation to come back, that dialect of being able to talk to people and reasoning, because at the end of the day, most people, we all have the same things in common. It's just that it's been so divided now, and like I said to just Tanika a minute ago, they have done that on purpose.
Yeah. And real quick about the SAVE Act, because there's been way too much focus on it, and I'm for it. I think it'd be great, but what would it get you for this midterm? Nothing. It would get you nothing, because you're going to have 14 to 19 states that are going to sue. It's going to meander its way through court to end up to the Supreme Court under the Elections Clause, because states have the right to make election laws. So eventually there will be a decision from SCOTUS, and it's not going to happen before the 26th midterm. So we invested all of this energy into something that's not going to make any difference in 26. Maybe by 28, it might make a difference. And then really when it makes a difference, what is it doing? Because 36 states require voter ID, and that's a driver's license that required proof of citizenship to get the driver's license. When you layer election laws with state laws, you realize it comes down to about 14, 15 states, the District of Columbia, and all of those states are registered Democrat.
Right in the midst of it, Booker got dropped. Booker, if you can still hear us, buddy, you got disconnected. Come on back. Zach, did you have your hand back up, or is that just remnants from the first time?
I have my hand back up. And Dwight D. Eisenhower is my cousin by blood. He signed that law in the 1950s to combat communism, but to get this communism done and gone.
Well, that's going to take a heck of a lot of work from all of us. and awareness, first off, what we're fighting, and hence why we talk about it quite a bit in these spaces. I see Skinny jumped in here too, and Sonny, and a whole bunch of people we know, Barbie, everybody.
Truth.
So welcome. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just clarify something? He just said that Booker said that they require proof of citizenship to get a driver's license, and that is 100% false. I can promise you there is no, unless you are getting an enhanced, which only 6 states offer, it is not required to show proof of citizenship to get a driver's license in this country. That is completely false.
That sucks. Yeah, I'd be curious now that Booker came back up. Booker, we lost you, buddy. Nika said something. I don't know if you heard that.
No, I didn't, and I don't even know where I ended. So go ahead, Nika.
I was just saying, Booker, they only require proof of citizenship to get a driver's license if you are getting an enhanced license. And that is not the same as a real ID for those that don't know. Only 6 states.
What states are you referring to?
Specifically, only 6 states offer currently the option to get an enhanced license, which requires proof of citizenship. Many other states do not require any type of proof of citizenship to get a driver's license. In fact, a lot of them will give you a driver's license and register you to vote regardless of citizenship status.
I'll push back a little bit, but I've done quite a bit of research on it. And the states, I think most states, I don't know about you guys, I had to prove who I was with citizenship papers when I get a driver's license. So I don't know where you guys are, but if you look at and you layer state, I'm not talking about enhanced. I'm just talking about you have to have 2 proofs of identification. And typically it's a passport, birth certificate in most states. But that's besides the argument that I don't know when I quit. When did I quit? Did I get to the census before I got kicked out?
No, you did not.
Okay. Oh, well, that's unfortunate because the SAVE Act to me, I don't know how far I got into the SAVE Act either, but it's nothing that's going to help the 26 midterm, maybe 28. And you have to understand that by the time it comes out of the Supreme Court, the remedy, and that depends on whether they pack the Supreme Court or not, the remedy would be to have separate election days because there are still municipalities. Maryland has 13 cities that allow illegals to vote, and there are other places too. I think it's over 20. But the states create the laws, and you can have illegals vote in those municipalities. And that the remedy is going to be to have 2 separate elections. You'll have one for local state elections and one for federal. That's what will happen in the end when it comes out from the Supreme Court sometime, 28, whenever that is. My fear, and the reason why I thought illegal immigration existed from the beginning, and something that very few people are talking about, is the census coming up in 2030. If they count everybody, which they will right now, unless something more important than the SAVE Act to me is securing the census only counts citizens of the United States, because if you don't, you count everybody, the Republicans, the conservatives will never have power in the House of Representatives, and they'll never have the White House again. Maybe they'll keep Senate from time to time. There's still 29 Republican states, so maybe they do that. But that was the purpose to me for illegal immigration. They were putting illegals in blue states and blue cities. They're in Chicago, they're in California, they're in New York. That's where they were concentrated because that will change the Electoral College and it will change the representation. Each representative in the House of Representatives, 435, they represent 800,000 people. If you congregate a bunch of illegals and you count them in the census, then you're losing seats in other red states. That, to me, is more concerning than the SAVE Act.
Well, the Electoral College, the unfortunate truth is that it's not even being fulfilled the way it was actually designed. There's only 2 states left in the entire country that actually use the electoral vote and the Electoral College the way it was designed, to where each district or electoral vote goes to whomever they voted for. Right? Instead of, well, the majority, which is, again, now you're getting into democracy, which we are not. But as soon as they've got 51% of the electoral votes in one state, then they give that entire state to the candidate, which is not the way it was designed.
Yeah, I don't disagree. There are a couple of states that still do it that way. Nebraska and Maine, they still will split up their electoral votes according to how the vote is. But again, you leave it to the states to do that. That is in the Constitution, that the states determine how they want to do an election.
Yeah, imagine. Okay, so right now the way it's designed, I'm sorry, not designed, the way that it's being used. If they know all they have to do is get a majority, only 51%, again, going to democracy, which is such BS, of one state. That's why every campaign, they're always going to the same places. They always have it at the same places because they know that they don't have to go to all the electoral districts because it doesn't matter. As long as they get a big state, then only 51%, then they'll do it. It would change the entire way campaigns are done if we actually did it the way it was designed to be done, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. I'm going to have to leave here, but thank you for giving me a microphone. I've kind of ranted about a few things, but like I said, I'm in the middle of writing an article. Should be out tomorrow, several different places on different platforms. You can hear me every night at 6 o'clock. In fact, last night's show is pinned at the top of my profile. That was me and Matt Palumbo last night. Matt is used to be the content director for the Bongino Report. You see him on Newsmax and Fox News as a contributor, but he comes on my show every Monday night, Monday through Friday night, 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 o'clock Pacific. You can listen on iHeartRadio. You can also go to AmericaOutloud.news and also TalkRed.com. You can go there and find my shows as well. And I also contribute to the HeartlandJournal.com. And you'll be able to find that article in all three of those places tomorrow as I finish wrestling with exactly what I'm trying to say and how I'm trying to say it. But I think maybe this helped me. Thank you.
Well, thank you,
Booker. Yeah, thank you for coming up here and talking about these important things and how it is so important that we get local, get everybody behind voting, get people involved that way. Just the voting itself, talking about it, because it's just not being done enough. And we are going to lose if we don't get control of our states, especially control of our states.
Yeah, Booker, I appreciate it. Yeah, like I said before earlier, if y'all aren't following Booker, please do. And if you have anything to post down here, please do that, Booker, so people can jump into to any of your broadcasts that you have every day, Monday through Friday. Appreciate it, bud.
Yeah, there's a couple of articles I may try to come back in and put in the Purple Pill, and that was an article probably last month at the beginning of the war. So many people talking about Iran not being America first. Trump's gone against his campaign promises, and I can make the argument that this is everything to do with America first. What's happening in Iran now? I have some other thought. If you listen to the show from last night, if you want to hear some more thoughts on the war and what's happening, and the fact that I think in a lot of ways Trump right now is kind of backed into a corner. We'll see how that goes, and probably in the next 24 to 48 hours. But I'll go see if I can get that article about this conflict in Iran and really how it is America first. You know, if you look at the death to Americans, there was 9/11, there was Pearl Harbor, and then there's what Iran has done to Americans for 47 years, chant death to America, and they've killed over 1,000 of us. So when does that stop? You know, at what point does that stop? And if you look around the Arab nations, and I have been consistent on this, and I don't mind telling you I've been 100% accurate. I have an exceptional source in the Middle East. We only speak encrypted, but I have been absolutely 100% right on everything in the Middle East over 2 years because of him and Lieutenant Darren Gaub, who comes on my show frequently. And it's not from my insights, but listening to other people that are very smart and know what's going on. And so many people talked about that it was going to be a regional conflict back 2 years ago, and then a year ago when Trump bombed Iran. On my show, 3 hours before Israel bombed Iran, I said that it was coming within 48 hours. I told people where the hostages were in Gaza when everybody was saying they were in Rafah. I was told differently, and I said that on my show. I told people on my show that Israel was going to invade Lebanon to get the Hezbollah north of the Litani River 2 weeks before that happened on my show. I've been pretty accurate on this stuff. If you had paid attention over the last 2+ years since October 7th, you would have seen that all the Gulf Arab nations had done nothing as Israel bombed Hezbollah and Hamas. When Donald Trump came in office in March of 2025, he bombed the Houthis for 2 to 3 months. He quit in May of 2025. None of those countries did anything. The reason why is because none of them want Iran in the state that it is right now. They're a nuisance. They're a problem to those countries. It was not going to spread that way. And you see that happening right now with the UAE coming into it to go against Iran. Iran is a problem. It has been for 47 years. Every president, Democrat and Republican, agree with that. It's time to do them in. That's what needs to be happen for America first. And if I find that article, I'll drop it in there.
Appreciate it. I did want to say, Country Biscuit, I threw you a mic since you got stuff to say down there in the pill about bootlicking for Booker. Come on up. You got something to say? You want to argue or whatnot? I invite you up here. I sent you a mic if you want it. So Booker, just so you know, he says Booker is your typical politician. Deflection is their strong suit. No one asks a tough question, just bootlicking. So just want to acknowledge that. You're welcome to come up. This is a free country. It's the whole point of doing this.
Yeah, I'm not a politician for one, so I have my own opinions, and I'll stick to them. I have convictions. My convictions are what they are. They come from my heart and from what I believe, and I think that you guys are probably the same way. But I'm not a politician.
Nor am I. I'm just your regular angry veteran who's fed up with everything, but that's just me.
And this is what I was just talking about. Like, we need that dialect. If you want to put something down in the purple bubble and say it, come up and talk about it. Let's just get it out there. Let's figure it out together. That's how we get things done. Not by just writing little messages or things like that. Just come on up and talk about it. You know, Booker doesn't bite. I know he doesn't bite. He's a smart man. He knows what he's doing, and I respect that and everything. I'm not saying that he's 100% right. I'm not saying anybody's 100% right, but you know what? Let's talk about it, right? Talking about it gets things solved.
They won't come up because they know he has facts. That's the problem.
I can name the things I've been wrong on. I don't forget them.
Well, so here's another comment from Country Biscuit. We're calling you out. Come on up here, man. There's nothing wrong with it. Or they're not saying you're wrong or he's wrong. I'm just reading the facts here. Saying that Booker is wrong about the Epstein files. It's not about the names. It's about the research Epstein was involved in, such as cloning, releasing bioweapons, controlling the weather, etc. The files aren't about the names. It's about control. So if you want to respond to that.
I don't really respond to that kind of stuff. I see enough of that going around that to me it's just a distraction. It's there's nothing corroborated in those files. And that's something that most people forget, that, and just because you have a phone in your hand does not make you a journalist. You're not a citizen journalist. There is a process to go through with corroborating information. I think that's another thing that's happened also in prosecutions, that people like Bongino and Kash Patel, they talk all this big game for all these years. And I said this over a year ago, you need to watch your expectations. Actually proving a crime beyond a reasonable doubt is a whole lot different than running your mouth on a podcast. It's two different things. And you look at these cases that are happening now, putting together a RICO case in South Florida at a grand jury for Brennan, whatever that is, good luck. That's going to be hard to do. So temper your expectations. When it comes to that stuff in the Epstein files, like I said, I just don't care. To me, it's noise. And noise is so loud, it has blinded us to the things that should be important. So I would ask Country Biscuit, why do you think those things are so important?
All right.
And
Well,
what is your solution? If once you have the information, then what? That's my favorite question. Then what?
all right. Well, you got also Joaquin who came up. Go ahead there, Joaquin.
Good morning, everyone. I want to say hi to Congressman Booker from the Gulf of America. A long time no see. I want to make something clear. No matter what kind of laws, no matter what you do, if you don't do something, you're going to lose this country. There is a bunch of couch potatoes around, a bunch of people running their mouths, but they don't do nothing. They don't actively involved on stopping this invasion of Marxist socialist idea. And if you don't know what theology of liberation, or if you don't know what socially socialist Islam is, I suggest you to go and dig up for it, because that's the next step on the revolution. They come with the ideology and with the faith involved into the equation. If you want to prove, just look at who's controlling the Catholic Church right now, the Pope, the guy from Chicago. He's another guy like the last one that was there, the Argentinian one. And like I say, it doesn't matter what President Trump or what the Republican Party gonna do. I live in Palm Beach County, and in Palm Beach County, they just elect somebody that is completely radical. You know why? Because the Republicans didn't go out to vote. We have a candidate. He wasn't perfect, but the Republicans did go out to vote. Like the Republicans didn't go out. Well, some of them they did. Bye-bye. Around 50 or 60 of them they did to counter protest the no king rallies. So what good it will do to you passing laws and blah 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 if there is no action behind? If you don't show the activists, if you don't show the radicals, there is somebody. This is the line. You cannot cross this line. You stop right here. See, this is really good. All this interaction in social media, there's information back and forth and whatnot. And also people like that guy saying the Booker is a elected official. Booker, if you're running a campaign, man, and you need a driver, just let me know. I'm about to retire, so.
Thank you, Joaquin. I did put it in the Purple Pill, that article that's titled "Tucker is Wrong," and I want to go back to that question that I asked Country Biscuit. Then what? Then what? Let's assume for a minute that everything you think is in the Epstein files and could be corroborated. Then what? Because it shouldn't affect anything that you are doing, which is a verb, today, whether it's true or not. Because if you're not boots on the ground knocking on your neighbor's door, then nothing is going to change. And that's where I come from.
That's a fact, Jack. But hey, we're not trying to pick on anybody. We're just saying, hey, if you got something to say and you're willing to write it, but you don't want to come up and talk about it, then it really doesn't matter, quite frankly. It just invalidates your point you're trying to make. So we're trying to call you out in as polite a way as possible to come on up and discuss this stuff.
I mean, I think it was really telling. Nika, she pushed back a little bit on Booker, and they talked about it and they talked it out. That's all it is. We need to do that. We need to talk to people. You need to talk. Everybody's not going to agree on everything, but if you don't talk about it with somebody and work it out, what's the point? All you're doing is talking about thin air. You're just talking into the ethos. That's really what I look at. How I look at that.
Debate has become a lost art, Julie. A lot of people are afraid to come up because they read something online or they see something on social media, but they don't have anything to back it up. So they're afraid to come up and discuss it because they don't know that what they're saying is real truth.
Well, then the other thing comes to debate, healthy debate, with facts and talking and being open and listening, right? I mean, I believe in the philosophy of seek first to understand, then to be understood. I really do my best to live like that. And what we've seen here, especially from the quote unquote left, is that when you try to debate or when you try to talk, they don't talk. They just scream at the top of their lungs, blah, 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 blah. I'm not listening. And so that there's nothing to debate. Then it just leads to anger, frustration. You see what I mean? We've lost that art of actually intellectually doing our best to defend our belief or whatever it is that we're trying to talk about, right? Remember speech class? Did any of you have speech class in high school to where they would teach you how to debate and how to prove your point? Well, we've lost that, especially with the quote unquote far left. I really hate to say Republican, Democrat. It's all It's just such a. If you read the Federalist and Anti-Federalist papers, you realize that what we have now is what they hoped we wouldn't have, or you have factions, right? I really encourage you to read through those if you haven't. But Booker, I know you said you had to go, but you're more than welcome, of course, to stay up here as long as you can. And we got Brandy to come up too.
No, I'm here. I was looking for another article. I put a couple in the Purple Pill if you guys want to go and read them, just some opinion pieces. But I was looking for, and I'll leave and I'll put it in there. But I'll look for the article about the midterm elections, historically research on going back 120 years in the numbers and comparing Trump now to Reagan, and I do all this to heed the warning. Not the black pill people, and black pill has become something that everybody uses. And by the way, Country Biscuit, I have haters. I don't mind that. That's what I do. I put myself out there, and I get hated and get death threats and other things. So it doesn't. I don't mind it a bit. And I did debate in high school. I debated for the legalization of marijuana. Believe it or not, Truth. And I was for it. And I still remember all my talking points when I debated that.
Yeah, it's good to have debate, and it's even actually healthier, I think, to debate a point that you actually are against, but debate for that side to learn about. You see what I mean? But
Sure.
Brandy got her hand up. Go ahead, Brandy.
Yeah, really quick though, and we can all learn, and that's what I like. I like that Booker's coming in here with the knowledge that he has. I like that when Rusty comes up. I like when a lot of people come up because they are researching, they are talking about it, and if they're wrong, guess what? We can all kind of debate that situation. We can talk about it, and that's what's great about this space. You're not going to get shot down. You're not going to be told that you are, obviously, unless you were really deranged, and that takes a lot. And we've kind of weeded out those deranged people. But here's another good speaker, Brandy. How are you today?
I'm cracking up because you're calling people deranged. Oh my goodness, I love it.
Well, yeah, there's a lot. Go ahead, Brandy.
Sorry, my mic keeps closing. I hope I don't have that problem tonight. Okay, so everybody get ready. Tonight at 7 Central to 9 Central, and I'm sorry for jumping in and out, but I've got to get to a phone call, but I know everybody wants to know about this. So tonight we're going to have BX on X in our space. A lot of people may not know who that is. Her name is Becca Spinks. She's been on Going Rogue with Larry Logan. She's been on quite a few podcasts. She's also been the person to hand over information that has led to when it comes to the 764 satanic cult that's going after our children online. I say children, this is also young adults. It doesn't just stop with minors. They teach self-harm. They teach harming other kids. They teach harming animals, suiciding, a lot of different things. So we're going to have her in our space tonight. She's going to share with us about her investigations. I want everybody to get in there with a notebook because I'm telling you right now, we are on this app every single day. It is our responsibility to know what to look for when it comes to these groups so that we can turn them in and turn them in properly so they can be arrested. This is no joke. There is no conspiracy. This is facts. So I want everybody to be in there tonight so that we can get this information. And also, I want to make sure everybody remembers that you can also share these spaces out, just like this one, with anyone that doesn't have X. All you have to do is copy the link and send it to them in any messaging system you have, and it will transfer over and they can listen. They can also listen live. It'll just be anonymous. They won't be seen. So make sure y'all are in there tonight, and please share it out to your communities. We need everybody to know what to look for and how to turn this stuff in. It's really bad, and there's splinter groups now that have splintered off of 764, and they're continuing, guys. So as the adults that are on this app every single day, I am telling all of you, we need you in there so that we can be the eyes for these kids online.
Well, thank you, Brandy. Absolutely. And then Booker, did you have something to add there, bud?
I was just going to say goodbye. Everybody have a great day. And I did find that that article on midterm elections. So I put 3 articles in there. They take about 4 minutes to read. They're not long. But everyone have a great day. Thanks for the microphone, and thanks for sitting in here and listening. Have a great day.
Appreciate it, Booker. Thank you again for jumping into space today. I'm glad you did. Hey, and,
Thank you,
and he
Booker.
hasn't been in here when Marlon's been host, so I feel a little privileged there. Anyway, it's always
You're
great to
liked.
see you.
You're liked, Truth. See, you're liked. Really, you are.
Yeah. Okay. None of that really matters. What matters is that we're all here together. We're doing our best to bring important issues to light. Doing our best to give advice or at least motivate each other to do what it takes, because it does take action, not just talking like we do in these spaces. Hopefully, when you get out of this space, you're actually going and doing something and getting behind any movement that you believe in. But all right, let's see. I know we lost there. Miss Carmen has been in here the whole time, but to have her not take a mic and be silent is kind of earth shattering. I don't know what's going on. But
She's decompressing from one of her all-nighter spaces, so maybe she just wants to listen to your voice.
yeah, no, I don't think so. Her laugh is what makes me laugh. So anyway, hold on 1 second here. All right. And again, thank you, Nika and Julie, for stepping up today and helping me out and, doing the co host. I know it takes a lot of time and effort. We've got 2 new speakers and 2 new hands. So I think Miles is first.
I'll go ahead and go. I'll just tell first a little personal incident that happened. I found out yesterday from my older sister went to her Easter and her daughter was like disillusioned. She listens to the wrong resources, obviously, but she was just like, oh, I'm just so done with Trump and this, that, and the other, just the same old blah, blah, blah. And of course, my sister's like, what are you even talking about? And they can't have a big discussion because it was busy. It's Easter and everything. But what she had told me was, my sister then kind of nailed her. She goes, well, who would you even vote for? Seriously. She goes, well, I'm just not going to vote. So those people out there that are spreading that stuff, it is just, well, it makes me angry. But those people doing that, they're very effective in doing that. And it makes me just so angry. So I've been going through, and of course, she's opposed to the war, which isn't a war, it's a conflict at this point in Iran. So I have gathered up, and this is about the only way that I know how to do some things, but I gathered up all of these articles that have been coming out today about the people of Iran that are cheering on Trump, the women, what they've gone through in Iran, because Trump did say that. He goes, they live in a world you know nothing about, and that's a fact. There's so many people in this country that have no idea what these people have lived under. And so that I don't know if that would encourage anybody else. I'm sure a lot of people do that, but that's the only way that I can really, sometimes my reach is small, and I try with my neighbors and things like that. But for the things that I can do, I just want to show her, listen, this is what the people are cheering for President Trump. The rest of the world is cheering for President Trump. And then you get these idiots in America who are sitting here complaining about President Trump. And it's like, get in the boat, people. And so, I can't do a whole lot of things, but I think sometimes just the people that I do have a little bit of influence over, I think if everybody could just, hey, share, and don't just share the article because they can ignore it. It's going to come with a follow-up phone call. And I'm going to be like, listen, you need to find better sources to listen to because you are disillusioned with what's really going on. But I just wanted to come out and thanks for letting me have a voice and just, I don't usually have a whole lot to say, but good space. And thank you very much.
Well, thanks for coming up. I mean, I don't normally do this space, just on occasion when Marlon is sick or away or doesn't in bad, the connection issues or whatnot, but I appreciate you coming up here. It's nice to meet you. And I know Miles has a hand up, and then I did want to acknowledge Jenny finally got a mic as well. But go ahead there, Miles, and we'll say hi to Jenny.
Good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful day in Southwest Texas. So I wanted to agree with Booker about the Epstein stuff. Trump kind of told you what's going on there, but a lot of people don't realize that the charges that they would go after them with, and the system that's we're under right now, they probably wouldn't get what they deserve. So if you look at Europe, they're going after these people for other crimes, just like they did with Al Capone. And some of those crimes are what they committed. The sentences are much longer, and actually they have the death penalty on treason. So I think that was the avenue that they're going after some of these people. So just listen to Trump. He knows what he's doing. And look, the Democrats had plenty of time to arrest Epstein, and Maxwell. They had all this time to do that. They never did it. Trump did it. And I agree with Booker. You're probably not going to see exactly what you want. That's for Country Biscuit down there. And the reason I waited till Booker left, because he blocked go. On AI. I never block anybody unless they're a sex bot, but so I still follow him. But he just had a disagreement with me, so I still like Booker.
Yeah, I remember the pretty Asian girl that kept friending everybody. Like the same thing, showing pictures of their food, all that stuff. Anyway, Jenny, hey, good morning. Hello to you.
Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing this bright Tuesday? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, so I just kind of wanted to chime in a little bit. And, I kind of was hearing a little bit about the New World Order, communism, and stuff like that. To Truth's point, yes, it is very real, Marxism, communism, and everything. But I think what everybody needs to understand is that's not going to happen. And the whole New World Order shit has been already debunked. A lot of talk about that. And when it comes to the elections, if people are out there telling you not to vote, you're listening to the wrong people. People forget the 2020 election has not been resolved yet. And, I had a show with 107 yesterday, and we spoke briefly about that. And once people really understand, I can't stress enough, the operation that we're in, the keyword operation, you're going to know, why it's going this way, it's taking so long, why things have to be this way. Because once that 2020 election all comes out, and it's starting to, guys. Now, they did the paper ballots, mail-in ballots. Now they're going to do the machines. Everything's null and void. And, people out there saying to people not to vote, that's just the wrong thing to do. But Trump is a wartime president. The powers that he has, whether that SAVE Act law passes or not, Trump can go in and use his wartime powers and do what he needs to do. So I think people get so caught up in the minutia bullshit of the New World Order, the Epstein files. Move the F on, go deeper, and figure out the operation. Once you understand, and Derek Johnson teaches this all the time, that we are in an operation, you're going to understand why it's this way. The art of war, the art of the deal. Appear weak when you are strong. This New World Order shit is not going to happen. Excuse my language. I'm tired of hearing it's been debunked all the time. It's the end for them, not for us. So it's going to be the end for a lot of these nefarious people, whether they spend the rest of their lives in prison or they're gonna be taken out like McCain and many others, right? So I just don't. For my audience, I don't like them to get caught up in the fear. Things are already challenging as it is, and kind of scary for people that aren't paying attention. And what's to come with the financial world and stuff like that people really need to be paying attention to, with these school bonds and all the mortgage fraud, what it's done to our economy and how that's going to disrupt our economy hugely. I mean, we're at a precipice right now, guys, and we are in the beginning of the storm, as Juan would say yesterday. And it's going to get rough, and we are going to see it in the financial world, in our pocketbooks, what is to come. And again, I'm not about the fear. We just need to be prepared. And I think many of us have been in this movement long enough to know that we've been in a mental boot camp. This is a boot camp for your mind to prepare for what is to come, because what we're going to see, it's going to get those people out there that are still dead ass asleep in the, thinking things are normal or whatever, or I'm not going to vote, or I hate Trump because I don't know why I hate Trump. Like it's gonna wake them up. It's gonna scare the shit out of people. So I think people just need to stay focused, stay in what the operation is all about, get out of the surface stuff, go deeper. And then you're gonna understand and feel a little bit more at peace that this isn't the end for us. It's the end for these evildoers. And there's a lot of them. Remember, all of those sealed indictments, each one of them contains 100 people. Trump is making deals with people. So when you see him putting these people in the limelight, to do whatever he's doing with them, whatever that may be, whether it may, the Pam Bondis of the world or the Erica Kirks of the world or the Dan Bonginos, whatever it may be, we soon will see what it was all about. But there's a purpose and a reason why Trump does what he does. He's 1,000 steps ahead of everybody. So I say take a deep breath. The New World Order isn't going to happen. Yes, is communism, Marxism real? Absolutely. Should, if they had won Hillary or Kamala or whatever, we would not be having these conversations, guys. We would already be in a quarantine camp. So take a deep breath and just know we're going to go through some stuff to feel the birthing pains, as many people say. We're at the beginning of them. So just hang tight, stay vigilant, stay safe, and follow the right people that are giving you the right information. I implore my audience this all the time because there's so much noise out there. And, we're seeing a lot of people that many of us have followed or posted some of their stuff coming out and find out that they're not good. They're plagiarizing. They're doing this. They're doing that. So we got to really be careful, everybody. Follow the right people, get the right information, and understand that we are in an operation. Follow Donald Trump. That's what I say. Follow God above and follow Donald Trump if you're just really confused and not know who to follow, because he's really telling us. I mean, that press conference yesterday was phenomenal yesterday. There were so many comms in it. He was telling us central casting. He said 17 3 times. He said, a lot of the cue drops he tied in together with his speech yesterday, and it was absolutely amazing. I did a show with Rubber Duck and Dr. James yesterday. They tied all those, because I'm not the cue person. I believe in it. I listen to it, and I see how it all is connecting, and it is a thing. But they broke it down, and it was just absolutely amazing. So everybody stay in the positive, because there's more positive out there than there is negative. Because trust me, if those people would have won, we wouldn't be having these conversations. So we are in better hands than we have been probably in a long, long time, even before Trump came into office. So stay in the positive, everybody. Great things are coming. Trust me.
Yes, they are ahead, right? Vegas, I saw you come up here, bud. It's good to see you. Do you have stuff to add today?
Yeah, hey, good morning, Truth. What's up, Julie? Hey, Nika, Stellar, Jen. Bunch of people, great people in here. What's up, Carmen? I can see you down there. So kind of just wanted to touch a little bit on what Jen said. I was listening, and I'm so confused how people can't remember ongoing stuff. So I'll just say ongoing stuff, meaning there's a secret grand jury in 3 bases in Florida. So they're literally actively investigating Russia collusion, the Ukraine hoax, the election steal, all of those things. So, people seem to think, oh, we need to have this happen now. So I would just use the perfect example. They can't prosecute anyone with the judges that we have in place right now. That's why they're doing secret grand juries that are outside of it. And when people say no arrests, I'm so tired of that. It's almost like people don't pay attention. So Bolton was the first person that was actually arrested. He turned himself in. Of course, he's going to turn himself in because they're protected. But if you don't think that he doesn't fall under what's going on with the Russia hoax, since he was the intelligence hook, John Brennan let the cat out of the bag because it's a secret grand jury, real trials. You cannot talk about the information, right? So John Brennan sent a memo and a letter saying, I don't want to be prosecuted by Judge Eileen Cannon. Right? I want another judge, which he has no right to choose what court he's going to go into. So we know that he's been indicted. We know Comey has been indicted, right? So RICO cases take a long time, but RICO cases are the ones that stick. So I just want to add that, because when people are talking about, oh, they're getting away with murder, they are not. They will not get away from what happened in 2020 and in 2016, because it does go back to 2016. And yes, Hillary is involved in that. And then if you talk about Epstein, first of all, there's ongoing investigations, right? I do not believe that Epstein is going to be investigated in a regular court. I do believe there will be military tribunals. That's why they have the 20 JAG officers that are living in Washington, D.C. right now. So, I mean, there's a lot bigger piece to the puzzle than the immediate reaction. Then, you know, I'll try to wrap this up, but it's like the people that, you know, that we followed, or people that, you know, posted good information, or people that popped up out of nowhere, like that clown on TikTok with the aviator glasses that would cuss and get all fired up and play patriotic music in the background. If somebody comes onto the scene and they get a bunch of followers right away and they go viral instantly, there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is because they're being propped up so they can do what Alex Jones is doing, what Laura Loomer is doing. And if anyone's listening to Laura Loomer at this point, that's your choice. Not trying to offend anybody, but she is not for us at all. Never has been for us. Anyone that followed, you know, Q, follow him or not, doesn't matter. Alex Jones was called out by Bill Cooper as a grifter. Same thing with Jack Posobiec. Same thing with, what's his name? Gosh dang it. Mike Cernovich. You can see these same people saying the same stuff that they're saying. And then the last thing I'll say is everything goes with trends, right? If it's popular to question Pam Bondi or Kash Patel or question Donald Trump or question the operation because it's not a war until there are actual boots on the ground, real boots on the ground, infantry. And when Congress determines that we either have to, you know, get approval to be at war, it's an operation. We're watching the city of London be dismantled in real time. We're watching the blackmail of energy being taken over in real time. They don't have any control of what's happening. So I would just say, and I'll end it with this: the louder it gets to Trump, just like think of, you know, what everyone said about Q. Now we know everything that they said, for the most part, if you really follow it, is true. The louder it is against Trump, the more you know he's doing right. Because no one talks shit about no one, forget my language. No one talks bad or makes a big deal about something that does not matter. They only talk about things that are offensive or concerning. And right now, what's offensive and concerning is we are winning. We really are. Stop listening to the mainstream news. Stop following anyone, and I'll end it here. Stop following anyone that quotes Axios, you know, any of these media sites, regardless, because they all lied about the Russia hoax. They all got sued. All these mainstream media, CIA, Mockingbird agents that are pretending to be journalists, they're all sued because they all lied. So anyway, just wanted to say that I like what I've heard so far, and just be calm and be patient, because you know what? Really, we don't control anything but our belief in God and what happens. You can only control your backyard. Do your stuff locally and just watch what happens, because I'll look at Trump and I will see how calm he is. And if he's calm and I listen to what he says, I don't have any concerns. And then what's happening in the Middle East isn't what people think it is. I won't say it because it's not popular, but somebody is saved for last. And that is going to happen. We're watching it happen in real time. Real time. Thank you very much, Truth. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Vegas, for jumping in here. I really do appreciate everybody's participation. I'm not the host, you know, Marlon is the guy, but whenever he's sick or to step up here. So I do appreciate y'all jumping in here, sharing the space, and bringing us good information. It helps, because I'm no damn influencer, that's for damn sure. But we did get another hand. So Julie, go ahead, and then we'll get to Brad here.
Yeah. I just wanted to say thank you, Vegas, for saying all that. And thank you, Jenny, and Stellar's come up too. And everybody's been great. And that's what we need. We need people to come up and, you know, kind of bring us back down, that when we start to get crazed on these things. But it was interesting. Now, Vegas, I just wanted to say one thing. Like, so my husband, you know, I say that he's like awake, but he's not awake. Like he still thinks, certain things. He's like, well, when I see it, I'm going to believe it, blah, blah, blah. But he's awake. He's a big Trump supporter too. He's just not as vocal as I am. But we were talking about the other day when you were just saying how calm Trump looks when he's speaking. We were also saying, out of all the presidents that have been, in office, how they age quickly. If you look at Trump, there's no difference, really. I mean, maybe a little more of a wrinkle, but really he hasn't changed. He hasn't lost his hair. Nothing has changed on him. So to me, he's got things in control. When I look at that, I'm looking at somebody that's in control of what's going on, because if he wasn't, boy, I don't know. I just think that his demeanor, his look would be just so much different than it is. So thank you for saying that.
Well, you know what, Julie, to your point, sorry, Truth, I just before we get too far off of it, to your point, look at all the comedy he puts behind it. I mean, he literally he makes jokes about it. So, and he's got the most to lose. Like, he's put his entire family and their families on the front line. So, and then, as many times as he talks about central casting, I mean, we even had Fox News reporting somebody talking about 2 out of the 4 astronauts are central casting. So, I mean, that was on Fox News. So it's just wild, guys. So just really pay attention to Trump, because he's really, like, he posted this morning about, oh, well, basically Iran didn't comply. So another country or whatever is going to be obliterated. Like, I don't know, you guys, if you guys can't see it, like, it's just, this isn't when he says when people say enjoy the show, we're literally, it's Wag the Dog, guys. Go watch Wag the Dog. A lot of this stuff has already been done.
Yeah, if you can handle watching De Niro, but yes, great film.
I agree with you.
All right. So we got lots of hands, and Stellar, I know we'll get to you. Let's get to Brad, Stellar, and then Nick, okay?
Thanks. Great space, Truth. Geez, there's a lot of wisdom in here. I follow a lot of you people. Jenny had a 107 on again. That was I follow her a lot. And this whole NASA thing. Have we been to the moon? Have we not been to the moon? Even 107 has said, I don't know if we was ever to the moon on Apollo. And he thinks it's a hoax, but yet he said in his space yesterday that Artemis is for real. And quite frankly, I'm not finding too many people who agree with that. So what is going on with Artemis? Is that just another pants down on NASA kind of thing, or what are we looking at? Just curious. If anybody can help answer that question, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. I'll land with that.
Well, that's definitely a direction change. I'll answer that there, Brad, but let me get to a couple of hands, and we'll circle back to that. I hate using that word, circle back. It reminds me of Biden days. But anyway, go ahead, Stellar.
That's so funny. Circle back. Yeah. No, I just wanted to reiterate what Jenny and Golfing said. Midterms are coming up. Very, very important. There's a lot of different people in different spaces that have, are making note on different things or trying to discourage, like Golfing and Jenny had said. But that is the number one thing to do, in my personal opinion, because we do have governors coming up for reelection or elections and stuff like that. We have Secretary of States and all of the different things within the state governments, which is the local ones. Also, a lot of the states are going to be putting, legislation on for laws that they want passed and things. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good. That's the target. There's so many other things that are going on. The Iran thing, he's just cleaning up, things that had been put in for a long time. That's kind of a hornet's nest at this, but it's getting rectified. It's getting taken care of. Like Golfing said, the city of London is falling. There's a lot of things that have been manipulated in this world, and it's getting taken care of, whether it's the stock markets, whether it's the monetary funds, whether it's the banking, and that's what we need to stay focused upon as well, in my personal opinion, and things. And I think that you guys have amazing spaces. You guys give lots and lots of knowledge. There's so many people that give so much more too. And it's just a great place to learn. Jenny's had a couple of people yesterday on her spaces that were amazing. Still haven't had a chance to listen to them, which I'm going to today. Wano Savin has been giving incredible, if you want to say intel. For me, he gives calming through a lot of these things because, it's also on spiritual side. He uses a lot of scripture, because I do feel what's happening right now is very there's an incredible thing that's happening, and we're a part of it, and our children are going to be a part of it, and literally we're going to be free from things that generationally for many many generations has been held under, whether it was, and I just think that everything's turning out to be really wonderful, and that's all I just wanted to say. And I wanted to give my prayers out to Carmen and continued health for her, recovery and everything else, and those that are having issues financially, physically and things like that. I just want to say a really, really strong prayer. I'll say it within myself, for healing for everyone and calm and peace and love and things like that. And I don't want to sound like I'm a hippie person, but it really is that's what we need to, that's what I'm going to try and focus on, inner peace and peace amongst everyone else and health and happiness because like both golfing Jenny and I'm sure others have said, as we're coming into this precipice, it's really, it'll get rocky. Just know that we're all here for everyone, and just we're going to make it and everything's going to be wonderful, and I'll just leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you,
Stellar.
Stella.
Um,
And oh wait, I'm sorry, Truth. And I don't know if you were in the beginning of the space, but that's one of the first things we started talking about was what a great time to be alive and to witness the changes that need to be done that have gone on for way too long because we all sat back and just thought that somebody was going to fix it. The next person was going to fix it. The next person was going to fix it when really it was us that needs to stay around to fix it.
well, we did read the first third of the Declaration of Independence this morning. So, yeah, if you go back to the beginning of the space, that's kind of where we started. And the overall, I always try to keep perspective, and we'll get to you there, Nick, and then we'll go back, Brad, on the on the space exploration. But to keep everything in perspective, again, I don't really, I don't like religion. I think it's evil, but I do believe in God, and I have a personal relationship with our Savior, and I think it's imperative for us to understand that this always has been and always will be a fight of good versus evil. Now, we're seeing evil everywhere. We're doing our best while we're here. The fact that I'm alive this morning and I woke up with breath in my lungs, that means I'm here for a reason. And I believe everybody is here. Everybody's in the space. Everybody that is alive today, it's for a reason. And meditate on, pray on, ask what is my purpose here? What can I do to fulfill the will of our Creator? So I just like keeping everything in perspective there because there's a lot going on. But anyway, thanks for your patience there, Nick. And then I swear we will get back to that question you brought up there, Brad. Go ahead, Nick.
I heard my story. I forget which day last week I hopped in here on Marlin Space. Short backstory, anyone didn't hear it. Inauguration day last year, I had a moment with the president and the first lady from the fourth row, because we got all this evil out there, people talking bad about each other. I don't know why. In my 33 years, I was 33 years old on Inauguration Day. My heart was on fire for America because I had family back here in Minnesota tell me, don't go to DC. It's going to be dangerous, whatnot, blah, blah, blah. It's like, F you guys. I'm going to go stand up for our country. People want to talk crap and whatnot. That night before was the coldest night of my life. I slept outside for 13 hours in a tarp tent outside Capital One Arena to be first in line because it's like, I'm sick and tired of people telling me what to think. And then I actually had, for those, like, Truth, I don't know if you were there for it last week. I had a moment when they came in for the parade. It was quiet for just a moment, and just by fate, they were right in front of me. I shouted from the bottom of my heart, and to my utter shock, and then they both turned and pointed at me. I shouted, "We love you, Mr. President." I proved it so hard it was me. There's people that heard that voice, but nobody knew who it was. And there's a picture of me that's linked on my profile if anyone wants to see it, of me in a red hoodie pointing back. Statistically, I'm the first American in history just because I dared to love America out loud. I put 5 words into the presidential record. I forget exactly what Booker was saying, but for debating other people, I've had family members write me off because I dared to love America out loud. And I got a letter from the president because of it. I got 2. I have one land 6 days before my 34th birthday, and it hit me right in the heart because 20 years ago, I grew up as that shy kid in middle school. I was too afraid to talk to the pretty girl next to me because I was afraid what would happen. But I've taken that the last 20 years. I've explored the world. I've been to Australia. I've been to Europe 3 times, and I've learned enough is enough. You need to stand up for what you believe in. Having family insult me because I don't own my own home. I'm not a parent. It's like, dude, I'm 34. I'm not a freaking 5-year-old. This says more about you than it does me. I'll stand up for what I believe in. If someone stands up for what they believe in and we have a good conversation, great. If they result to personal insults, it says more about them than us. Because you guys know, all you guys thinking more conservative like I do. I don't care if you think differently than me. That's like I brought it next week, next Tuesday. I'm going to my local city council meeting because the local city I live in caught word of me making American history. I'm now the most legendary citizen from my hometown, and they asked me to bring both my letters from the president and speak. I'm going to be using it there and my local childhood school district. I've heard multiple stories, like most school districts, they're going too far left. Well, I told those people who told me these stories that I'm going too far left. It's like, well, I'm going back up there, and I've already talked to the superintendent privately. I'm pulling them back to the center where they belong. Because as you guys know, we need to get back to teaching kids. You stand up, you figure out what you believe in. I want you to think like us, but I'm not going to tell you what to think. Wanted to come up, share that for anyone that may not have heard it last week. Enjoying listening, Truth. You got good stuff, good filling in here, and keep on keeping on. If anyone wants to see it, my website's linked on my profile. I can't believe it, but I own WeLoveYouMrPresident.com. It just shows one voice still matters in America. Never in my life did I think I would get the White House to bend twice and send me 2 letters, including one that statistically should not exist, that statistically only goes to other presidents and heads of state. I'm most likely the only American civilian to get 2 letters from the White House in 1 month.
That's awesome, Nick. Yeah, we all have a voice. We all make a difference, no matter how much we think we do or we don't. And whether that's publicly or just personally or privately, the fact that we can freely speak and say what we want to say and make a difference, that's kind of the whole point of this country. And freedom does not come from our government. And if you read through, like we started with the Declaration of Independence, freedom comes from God, our creator, right? And this whole government was based on that. So getting back to our grassroots of who we are, speaking our mind, that's being American, right? But also, I think with freedom, people forget about the responsibility, our ability to respond to that, right? And when we do speak freely, I think people forget the part to where you have to accept the consequences of your actions, the consequences of what you say freely. Right now, we're witnessing a society of no consequences, right? And we all want to see that happen. So I know the frustration. I feel it from everybody. But hey, Brad, I know you posed a question that was kind of opposite of what we're talking about, but a couple things to throw at you. For one, the Van Allen radiation belt. If you all don't know about that, I suggest y'all look it up because we as human beings technically can't pass through that amount of radiation without basically frying ourselves. And if you look at the Apollo missions and you look at the spacecraft and how fragile they were, it's kind of hard to believe. The one that also gets me is the President Nixon talking on the phone. Talking on the phone in the White House. These are things like make you go, right? And then the other thing that I don't think a lot of people do realize, if you ever watch the movie The Shining, So legend has it that Stanley Kubrick, the director, was the one who made the lunar landing film, right? And so just little trivia for you. So if you watch The Shining, which Stanley Kubrick, of course, directed, if you remember the kid, the boy that's in there riding around on his bike, he has a shirt on. And watch the film again if you don't realize what shirt he's wearing. Does anybody know before I spoil it?
Apollo 11.
Apollo.
Thank you. So that, again, symbolically, if you look at film and the whole history of film and, you know, everything, there's so many symbols in film and television. If you all have no idea, look at the background of things, look at the pictures that are in the background. I mean, there's, that's a whole nother topic we can go down. But the fact that Kubrick put that on a child, it was the symbolism saying they are going to kill my children if I tell you the truth about Apollo 11. So again, these are all things that people talk about that try to disprove that we ever landed on the moon. Quite frankly, I don't really care. It's just a fun conversation to bring up whether this new mission is real or not. I mean, who knows? Really, it's all distraction, quite frankly. But not to downplay what you brought up there, Brad. It's just that's my 2 cents.
No, I understand all that. I've been watching all that hoax stuff for, I don't know, decades. And I totally agree that the Apollo was fake. But why all of a sudden are we telling everybody we've got an Artemis? I don't know. Artemis was a brother of Apollo in Greek mythology or something. I don't know.
Right.
I think, Brad, if you're referring to like 107, what he said yesterday, it could be double meaning, double speak, you know, because Juan 2, he speaks in parables and he starts from the beginning, gets you to the middle, takes you to the end, kind of where we're going to go. Telling the story, right? Whether it be biblical or not. But I was you know, hosting that podcast and I was listening to that as well. So, you know, Juan can't tell us everything either. He is somebody I believe, Field McConnell knows who he is, and he has mentioned to me who he is. So he's somebody very special in this movement. So again, he like Trump and many others, they can't directly come out and tell us because we are at war. If they tell us, then guess who else knows? The enemy. So I just maybe wait and see how that pans out. What is Mars? Is it the outer space of the ice wall? Like, you know, could mean all kinds of stuff. So I don't know. We'll soon find out, right? So just hang in there, hang tight, because I kind of was listening to that and saying a little bit of the same thing in my head, but again, knowing what I know about Juan, I just kind of let it go with the flow. Because even if I was to ask him off the the podcast, he couldn't tell me, right? You know, a lot of these people are under NDAs, so they just gotta be careful what they say.
Yeah, I was taken aback a little bit by that, but you know, central casting again, and you know, Trump likes to pull people's pants down. So, and you know, Trump's my president. Don't get me wrong. Juan also is heavy on this May 17th day of prayer in Washington D.C., and I definitely want to be there. I don't know, no matter how I get there, I definitely want to go to that where Trump is.
Well, I don't know if any of you know, but he's been pretty heavily over there in DC, you know, helping out with some of these executive orders. So, you know, Juan doing what he does, traveling where he travels, meeting who he's meeting, and he's told me some of these people. He's not just some random individual. He's somebody very important in this movement, and I believe we all soon will find out. I mean, like I said, I know who he is, but and Juan, that is not who he is. That's not his real name. So, but again, that will all be for for everybody to see in the future.
Thanks, Jenny.
Of course.
Well, now I'm going to start winding this here down, not like our friend Marlon likes to do and says he's closing his space and then another hour or so goes by. So I know y'all got stuff to do and so do I. You know, it's tax time. If you haven't done your taxes, y'all better get on that because the time is coming. But if you didn't know, They actually extended it. It was passed last Friday. Extended your taxes due instead of April 15th. It actually went to May. So just so you know, if you didn't know that. But I see that Raging came up. Go ahead there, Raging Rico.
Good morning, X Live and all the good crew up in here. I'm up here to do a little bit of rant about the California governor's race. Trump endorsed Hilton. That's like a missile going off in California, deep blue California. Let me tell you why. Anything that Trump endorses or does, these Democrats or these libs that independents that lean to the lib side will not vote for this dude. He basically endorsed Chad Bianco by doing that. Hilton has been spotted in numerous places, charity events, fundraising events for Newsom, for gay policies, for transgender policies. The guy is a carpetbagger. He is a British man that barely became a citizen, I think within the last 4 years or something like that. I've not seen anything positive from this guy. He's pro-vaccine. I just want to say, anybody on X Live and on this space that's listening, he is not our guy. While I do understand that we want to push him and Chad to be the top two contenders because it's a jungle primary, so we knock out all the Dems. At the same time, I see he's here on Newsom's account to split our vote. He is the real culprit. I am looking into a lot more of what he's been up to. Vote for Chad. That's our guy. We need to get him across the finish line. Yes, I know he said some stuff about immigration and blah, blah, blah. Don't worry about that. The first step is to take that baby step and then to let him know what it is that we want here in California. Hilton is a Newsom 2.0 in disguise. He is a Mondami. He is promising the world. And I want everybody to understand that Swallowswell will creep up while we fight this fight to expose him for the Fang stuff and all this other craziness. Then you got that other dude, Mahan, coming through. So they have a plan. We need to stick to ours. Stick with Chad. If you really want Hilton, I advise you to look into him. Just like I said, look into his contributions. He's also mentioned in the Epstein files. Of course, he's not accused of anything, but he's in there. His name's in there. So these are things of concern. I'm sticking with the chat. Thank you for letting me speak. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank ya.
Thanks for coming up here. I do appreciate it. Hey, right quick, can one of my lovely ladies that's up here, I'm so bad at asking people to like and repost,
Yeah.
whoever's better at it.
Okay, guys, you know what to do. Go to that purple bubble, like and reshare the space. If you can please go over to Rumble, to YouTube, and find the American X Live account and give it a thumbs up. There are also people listening over there. It is being live streamed. Thank you very much for your attention on that matter.
Yeah, see, sounds like nice, a lot nicer. I see Miles and Sunlight got their hands up. Go ahead there, Miles.
Yeah, I wanted to jump back up here when the conversation got back to NASA. So I have a different perspective on that because I grew up, my dad worked there. He filmed the rockets when they were in the early stages of the program. And I mean, we went on the playground and watched so-called astronauts go into space. So when Kennedy came out and said, yeah, we're going to go to the moon by the end of the decade, I mean, people at the Cape were kind of shaking their heads going, what? Say what? They were having so many problems back in those days. I went on a show yesterday called Above the Rabbit Hole, and I talked about it a little bit. So I think the era that we're in right now, and you're right, a lot of it had to be faked because it was a space race with Russia. And we even got in a debate about moon rocks and stuff, but I won't go into that. I think what's going on right now is they're flooding the zone with psyops. And I had never heard about flat Earth in 2010, 2012, nobody was talking about it. Maybe some people were, the biblical scholars and stuff, but that got rolled out because that's another psyop. And you know, a lot of people are grifting on it. I won't even mention the people that are making the most money on it, but I just think that that's another psyop. I was encouraged when Trump came out with Space Force. I do think that they reversed technology a long time ago with Operation High Jump, if you know what that was, down in Antarctica. And I won't go into it, but my father was involved with a mission to Antarctica, but that's a different story. So I think that a lot of this stuff had to be exposed, so we do get the truth. And we'll just we'll see how this all plays out. As far as you know, I don't think that they're telling us the exact truth about where we live, and you know, we'll find out that it's probably different than what we think it is. I mean, for some people now we're thinking we're living in a matrix, that this is all a simulation. So hopefully the truth will come out. I just wanted to point that out, that I grew up down by Cape Canaveral, and I've seen a lot of things. Thanks.
Thank you, Miles. Yeah, all of us got different experience in life. That's the beauty of it. Sunlight, you had your hand up.
Yeah, hey, thanks a lot, Truth. So while all this is happening and everything else, with the Straits of Hormuz, I love that reporter, No Cap on God, that went to No Kings protest, and he asked one of the protesters, he says, so what do you think? Are we discriminating because we're focused on the Straits of Hormuz instead of the gays of Hormuz? And she honestly answered, yes, I think that the gays have been oppressed for too long. So hopefully we rename the Straits of Hormuz the gays of Hormuz, if there are any straits left after we bomb the hell out of those two islands right at the choke point that aren't Karg Island. But some great economic news last week that got lost in the haze. 178,000 jobs created when they were expecting 60,000. It blew all the business news organizations away. And then also Truflation has come out. Inflation continues to remain around 1.54% according to Truflation's metrics, which are real time, measurements using 90,000 inputs versus what the Bureau of Labor Statistics does, which is kind of like a look back, and depends on who actually fills out the survey when they send it out, because close to two-thirds of the people they send the survey out to don't fill it out anymore, because it's a pain in the ass and there's no incentive for it. So anyway, I would direct you to, like the good economic news. I know we got a lot of other stuff, to think about, worry about, but, the economy is moving forward, outside of, gasoline prices spike. There are a lot of good things happening. So have a good one.
Well, thank you, Sunlight, for jumping up here. And like I said, I am going to try to wind this down and close up the space. So the people that are up here, if y'all had any kind of last words, now would be the time.
Yeah, I would just say, just watch things happen. There's a lot of noise happening. I think this Artemis thing is a lot of noise. I would just look in the background, kind of pay attention to those kind of things that are possibly happening in the Middle East and those kind of things. Look at the allies who are on the side of the U.S. And I'm talking about Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, and those people, which Trump pointed out clearly and left somebody out very clearly in that statement. I wish people would pay more attention, because words do have meaning. So anyway, I would just say, just be positive. Don't get caught up in all the noise and just kind of enjoy the winning, because we actually grew our economy without adding government jobs, which that's the way that they grew the economy under Biden and Obama, was they were adding nothing but public sector jobs that, are given to people. It's not like you could go get a job and work in the Department of Energy unless you knew somebody. So anyway, I think there's good things happening, and just pray, have belief, and enjoy, guys.
Vegas, the jobs report that just came out blew everything away. Then even what they were saying, right? I mean, it was like this quarter was like, I don't know, 174,000 or like new jobs that were created. So it could be, I could be wrong on that number. So
Didn't I just say that like 2 minutes ago? Yeah, 178,000 versus
sorry,
60,000.
Sunlight. I'm
It's
sorry.
all right. I know people get distracted, but it's like you wonder sometimes, if you say something, is everyone dialed in? But yeah, I'll put the thing in the purple pill, the the announcement where they were all shocked.
Well, Jenny, you got your hand back up.
Yeah, I just wanted to second what Vega's saying. Stay positive, stay out of the noise, everybody. And no, Trump is always 1,000 steps ahead of everybody. He knows what he's doing, and he does shine the light on people to show us that we need to look into certain people to expose them, right? I.e., like what Raging was just saying about Steve Hilton. So just don't get too discouraged by that, but there's always a purpose behind. I always say there's a method to his madness. But greatness, if you want, I prefer greatness. But again, Trump knows what he's doing, and he's making deals. Everybody, he's making deals with these corrupt people because remember, it's the end of them, not us. And Trump can't do this by himself. So you make a deal with me and help take these evildoers down, and you leave a legacy, or you don't, and we take you out right now, and people get to know exactly who you are and what you've been a part of. So just hang tight, everybody. There is a method to Trump's greatness, and he does shine a light on a lot of these evildoers. So, because again, they start exposing themselves, right? I always say to my audience, listen to what people say, because the more they talk, the more they expose themselves, and then you kind of can figure out how to decipher who to listen to and who not to listen to, right? So just hang in there, buddy. A lot more positive happening than negative. So stay out of the noise. God bless. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Jenny, for coming up here. Sunlight, did you have something to add real quick?
Yeah, just the motion that Trump is doing is pushing toward the Abraham Alliance and the IMEC corridor, the India Middle East corridor, with India as one anchor, with manpower technology. Israel is the other one, terminating at the port of Haifa, coming up through UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan. Is going to transform the region. So just like he set up the Shield of the Americas here in the United States to push back China's Belts and Roads initiatives with 17 countries in the anti-cartel coalition, and then 13 countries in the Shield of Americas coalition. There will be a coalition of Gulf cooperation countries and Israel and India managing that strait. That's what I see happening in the future, and it'll enable us to pivot a lot of resources out of CENTCOM and reposition them to contain China, and to also, help with the Americas region. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Vegas. Some last words there, bud.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump back in. Unless the Greater Israel Project dissolves, they will not be a part of that project, because the Abraham Accords are to get along with, not give up property. And what's happening in Lebanon, I'm not trying to be a hater, but what's happening in Lebanon isn't advancing peace in the Middle East. They don't want peace in the Middle East, and that's coming from the dude who runs that country. So everything else he said, he's spot on. This is a kinetic war against China to take them out and to take away their power in that side of the world. I agree with everything he said, except for the one country who's not playing ball with the rest of the Middle East.
Well, see, this is where we start to get into stuff, and this is where normally Marlon would encourage y'all and keep talking, but not my case. I'm sorry, but I got lots to do. By the way, what we're working on in the background, there's a lot of stuff, but the American Rancher Alliance, I do want to make mention of it. There is so much happening with that. If y'all don't know about it, definitely visit the website, goarabeef.org, goarabeef.org. Check that out. Today is Tuesday. Holy moly. Okay. So tonight, if you don't know, we do a Bible study every week. It starts at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And we'll be continuing on in the book of Romans. That's under the handle at Studying God. So that's tonight at 7:30. If anybody else has any spaces or something like that, if you hadn't put it down on the purple pill, now would be the time, just so people can help support each other. I really am grateful for the both of you, Julie and Nika, for stepping up here. Nika, any final words here?
Sure. First, Raging, if you're looking for some information on Swalwell, it just came out this morning that he's been paying his wife to take care of their kids with campaign funds in his race for governor. So I believe Gateway Pundit put that out this morning. You might want to check it out. If anybody missed it and you're wondering when or how civics went downhill, check out Data Republican, put an article out, actually a really long thread. It also kind of helps people understand why every single J6er was found guilty. Goes into depth, and they start in 6th grade teaching them, excuse me, I'm having a very hard time with my voice here, teaching them action civics. And it's literal indoctrination, people. I mean, deep indoctrination starting in 6th grade, which is why it is a 93% Democrat area in DC, because they are deep in it. But I'm sure it's going out to other schools. It's in the textbooks. I mean, guys, we've been questioning like where civics went and, why people aren't up to date with it. Well, she did a deep dive into it and put it out for everybody to see. So if you haven't seen it yet, please check it out. Truth, thank you so much for having me up here. I really appreciate it. I know you appreciate the help, guys. If you haven't already, please like and share the space. Please also jump over to Rumble and YouTube and like it over there just to help get the word out. We appreciate everybody coming, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Nika. Julie, do you have any last words there?
I just want to say thank you. Thank you for everybody that came in and contributed. That's what makes this space the space it is. If you had problems with other people, that what they have to say, their opinions, you can come up here and you can talk about it with them. And I really wish when Booker was in here, people came up and talked about it with him. They're just whatever, because that's what makes it good. That's what makes things happen. But I do appreciate everybody coming in and everybody speaking today. Everybody was wonderful. Everybody's got such good information. And have a safe rest of your day, and see you tomorrow. God bless America.
And for those of you, if this is your first time in this space, normally our host is Marlon, which is up there in the top, the at Average John 911. He does a space every day, Monday through Friday, starting at 9-ish in the morning Eastern time till about noon-ish Eastern, which is just about this time. So anyway, so please come and jump in these spaces. If you didn't get a chance to talk up here, try it again tomorrow. We should be here. Hopefully Marlon will be feeling better and he'll be doing this, because I tell you what, running spaces is a pain in the ass. But again, thank you so much for everybody contributing and jumping up here, and keep it all in perspective. Remember, don't sweat the small stuff, and everything is small stuff. Put God first in your life, because that's all that truly matters. We are in a battle of good and evil, always have been, always will be. And all these little things that we get distracted with, just take a moment, rest, read God's word, pray. It makes a huge difference. I thank you all for being here and for contributing today. We'll see you all tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day, and God bless America.